Oh, why do I... Mike Winger's going to think I'm in love with him if I do this. Yeah, there we go. Now, I don't care if Trent Horn thinks I love him. Trent Horn loves me. I love him. The goal of this live stream is to bother everyone here. I'm an equal opportunity botherer. But first, we got to figure out who was here first. Jasone. Well, no. 10,000 Pine Points. You come here 100 times and do this, Jasone, you win a free trip with me to the luxurious Tropicana Casino and Spa, where you will spend a weekend of debauchery and chicanery with yours truly in Sin City. I really want Trent Horn to come with me, though. Oh, yeah. Can you imagine me and Trent Horn walking on the Las Vegas Strip? And every sign we go by, Trent Horn goes, "No, I can't look." And you know those cars that go by with the advertisements, you know, with the scantily clad women. "No, I can't look." And here's me just walking. Come on, Trent Horn, you're laughing, right? When's the last time you brought your family to Sin City? Paul Schlechter, 5,000 Pine Points to you, and Blaster Master, 1,000 Pine Points to you, and presto. Sorry to see you go. You were here fourth, so you're the biggest loser. You might as well just take your ball and go home because you didn't make the cut. Hello, everyone. Yeah, this should be fun. Hey, Wayne Gretzky? Wow. It's the grandchild to Wayne Gretzky, the great Wayne Gretzky. By the way, I don't care what anybody says. Okay, this is my first way of ticking people off. This is going to tick off just a few people, but it will tick people. Wayne Gretzky is the best athlete who has ever lived on planet Earth. You realize this, right? Maybe Muhammad Ali, but Wayne Gretzky, no one has come close to the records he set and the number of records he set. Now, sure, back in the day when Wayne Gretzky played, all the goalies were midgets. I get that. There, I've ticked off somebody else. You can't say the word midget. Okay. So I ticked people off with saying Wayne Gretzky's the best athlete who ever lived. Statistically, midgets were goalies. Now I'm going to tick off some Christians here. This guy is a Roman Catholic, and this guy here is a Protestant. I'm going to tick off the Protestants here and make the Roman Catholics laugh. Did you know that this form of Christianity that Mike Winger represents came about just about 200 years before Mormonism? Yeah, true story. So you have the real Christianity, the real old Christianity as exhibited by Trent Horn, and then you have this cult-like Christianity that came later called Protestantism, and then you got Mormonism that just a couple hundred years after that. You know, it's really, when you say it that way, oh man, the Protestants get mad. It makes them look like no better than Mormonism, like an offshoot of the true church of Roman Catholicism or Catholicism. Bobby Orr was not better. Come on, Boomer, you look at the records set. All you have to do is look at the evidence. See, people like Boomer U, they're the problem with this country. They don't accept facts and evidence. They just go based on their emotions because Boomer U was in love with Bobby Orr because Boomer U is an old guy. And so he remembers Bobby Orr, and he even liked his style and his haircut and stuff. And so he has this emotional tie. And Boomer U cannot separate the facts or his emotions from the facts. But anyhow, getting back to Roman Catholicism and Protestant, the atheists don't have to debate Christians ever. Really, they don't. All you have to do is get Catholics in a room with Protestants and have them do battle. Calvinists versus non-Calvinists, have them do battle. Pre-trib versus post-trib versus mid-trib, have them do battle. Christians like Randall Rouser arguing against Christians like James White on the Old Testament atrocities and let them do battle. And all atheists have to do is just sit back and just maybe whisper a few words like outsider test of faith. That's all you have to do. And just watch the fireworks ensue. Hey, good to see you here. Amy Newman and Melly Joy are two token females. There's probably some more. See, I just ticked off some more people. You can't say token female. And Rebecca's here, another token female. Thank you for the donation, Rebecca. I really appreciate it. But here's the for you atheists who don't know what's going on, because most of you atheists don't know anything. Oh man, I'm having so much fun ticking people off. The main difference between Catholics and Protestants, I think this is fair, is the extent of how you view grace, how you view this fancy word called justification, and then another fancy word how you view sanctification. See, Catholics take, okay, I got to explain this to people from Tuscaloosa. Justification means like God looks at you and says, oh, you're a filthy rag. Blech. And then he looks at you one day and says, oh, I'm going to regenerate you. Or depending if you're a Calvinist or non-Calvinist, you reach out to him. And then he goes, oh, now you're my child. You went from like a blech to my child, my lovely child. That's called justification. And then, but this lovely child is still a child. It has to grow up. It has to go from milk to eating well-done steak. See, I just ticked off more people. You don't eat steak well done. And then, and so that's called sanctification as you mature. And salvation, oh, I mean, what in the heck is that? Does it mean now? Does it mean if you run the good race and finish? Christians debate about I'm getting a dopamine rush from this. The most important things about Christianity, the absolute core essential doctrines of Christianity, are heavily debated amongst Christians themselves, which speaks volumes that probably the creative universe had nothing to do with the book called the Bible, which is 66 books. Oh, it depends even on that. Is it 66 books or 72 or 81? Where in the Bible does it say the Bible should have 66 books? I mean, the whole thing is a mess. But another difference between a guy like Trent Horn and Mike Winger is Trent Horn, I think it comes down to the book of James, to be honest. The book of James, if you read it as a Christian, it's pretty clear that you got a boatload of responsibility in order to make it to heaven. I mean, a boatload. I mean, you got to get in the starting blocks. You got to wait patiently and don't jump out of the starting blocks before the gun goes off. You have to wait for that gun to go off. Otherwise, you're disqualified. And then when you hear the gun go off, justification. I realize that if I whisper, it doesn't come back. It doesn't go through my filter. So I got to stop whispering. You got to get in the blocks. You got to wait for the gun. And then you got to go. And as soon as you hear the gun, you got to go. And that race for the average American is about 75 years. You're racing for 75 years if you become a Christian at a very young age. And if you stumble, it's your responsibility to get back up. And if you stumble again, it's your responsibility to get back up. It's your responsibility to finish the race, not God's. And Christians like Trent Horn, they read the book of James very much to what I just said, because James himself, the brother of Jesus, although that's not for sure if he wrote it, said so. But here's a problem for Christians like Mike Winger. They say, no, we're saved by grace. And Trent Horn would say, yes, we are saved by grace, but you still got to do stuff. You got to run the race. Am I saying anything wrong here, Roman Catholics? Am I saying anything wrong here, Protestants? Wouldn't this basically be the difference between you two? Now, what's very interesting is was it 1 Corinthians 7, 9, 6? I forget. One of the odd numbers. No, 6 is even. It says that if you do certain things in life and you live your life like me, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. No, not like me. If you if you live your life like a homosexual, if you live your life like debauched drunkard or a sexually immoral person, you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. Paul says this in 1 Corinthians. Isn't it interesting that I view that verse as a friction against grace? Because if there are things you can do to prevent you from going to heaven, then shouldn't there be things you can do to help you go to heaven? If there's things that can keep you out of heaven that you do, isn't there things you can do to put you into heaven? I think a guy like Trent Horn, even though he might not like the crass way I've said that, would agree. But not Mike Winger. No. There's absolutely nothing you can do to go to heaven. Not even, and accepting the gift of salvation, that's not doing anything. Even though, people have to study the Kalam cosmological argument and study all the manuscript evidence and study the archaeological evidence and study the prophecies. Even though for some, I've been told, for some people that's how they became Christians, is from all the apologetic arguments. Even though you have to work hard and study and research all this stuff to come to the acknowledgement that this is true and believe in it, that's not a work, says Mike Winger. No, that's not a work. Accepting the gift and accepting the core propositions as being true from your own free will, that's not a gift. Even though it takes, according to some, so much work to do. Ugh. Okay, who do I need to peeve off now? I think, actually, I kind of made the Catholics look good here. How can I peeve off the Catholics? You guys are the most superstitious people I've ever met, you Catholics. This is why I like Protestantism better than you guys. I mean, to think that a piece of oak wood in a church, in your church, that where you lay the communion bread and wine on is holy. What is wrong with you? Like, how superstitious and magical thinking are you when you think pieces of wood are holy? Or pictures, or they're not idols, but there we got Jesus hanging on a wall. My goodness, you Catholics are superstitious. And okay, let me peeve off the Catholics even more. You realize how much harm you've caused in the world with this whole no contraception thing? I mean, seriously, going into developing countries and telling them that birth control is a sin, and then they have kids born into poverty and then suffer greatly and die at a young age. That's on you, Catholics. Shame on you. Oh, I'm pretty dead inside, but that's one thing that gets me, is like anything to do with kids. I'm just softy with kids. Like, and the kids are suffering because of you Roman Catholics. Stop it with this. Okay, if you're a Roman Catholic listening, I'm asking you to sin on purpose. Do it. It's for the betterment of mankind. Sin, and then let God judge you later. You're still going to go to heaven. God will just go douche, douche, douche a few times, and then you'll be okay. But no, sin. Birth control. Do it. Go ahead and sin against your God. What's the worst that can happen? He cries a little bit. Yahweh cries. Right? How many people here still love me? You got to stop that. It's a PineCreek religious roast. Oh, I'm going for the politics soon too. By the way, there's someone who wants to come on and talk to me. And she's coming later. What's her name again? Oh boy. No, she's gonna get mad at me. Autumn. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Cause so I had a Twitter conversation with Autumn. She has a YouTube channel. And this is an issue about hate. And I think that what's dividing the United States of America right now is hate and love, actually. Both emotions, hate and love. And I'm using the terms hate and love as an emotion, not as like a commitment. Because I do think true love is a commitment, not an emotion. But the problem with people on the right and the left is you're too darn emotional. You hate Trump. What is wrong with you? You love Obama. What is wrong with you? You don't even know the men. You just know what the media gives, right? You hate Obama. You love Trump. My goodness, what's wrong with you? You should love your spouse and who should you hate? You should hate pedophiles. Yeah, I said it. You should hate pedophiles. But as far as I know, Trump's not a pedophile. As far as I know, Obama's not a pedophile. I remember when Obama was elected, how the right was just freaking out about, oh, Obamacare is going to ruin the whole country. Did it? No. Oh, Trump's going to ruin the whole country. Did it? No. We're still here. So I was on Twitter the other day, and some person was going off on Trump, and I asked a very simple question. How did Trump hurt you? And I capitalized you. Y-O-U. Don't talk about other people. Talk about you. How did Trump hurt you? What did Trump do to hurt you? And you know what? Most people can't think of anything. True story. You ask that question of people who hate Trump and ask them, what did Trump do to you? Most of them can't answer that. Besides saying, well, he hurt other people and that made me feel bad. And he has divisive language and he made me feel bad. Forget about your feelings. Forget about your emotions. What specific actions did Trump do to hurt you besides make you feel bad? One person answered that he got rid of one program that caused them to make less money. That's the type of answer I'm looking for. But for most of the country, it's this emotional reaction to a person. And it goes both ways, both parties, and it also goes both ways, both hate and love. Like most people who love Trump, actually, to be honest, I think they could probably easier say specific things that Trump did to them to help them have a better life. And most of them would say lower taxes, probably. Last night I was talking to some of my friends, the close group of friends I have. And I let two of my friends have it pretty hard. Because they were talking about association, guilt by association. Like you shouldn't talk to certain people because they represent certain people. The example was Prager University. An atheist shouldn't go on Prager University's YouTube channel or talk to Prager University or help them in any way because they say evolution via common descent is false. And you're giving them a platform by helping them. To me, that's ridiculous. You're basically saying, I will not associate or talk to these people because I disagree with them. This is the problem with this country. That type of stinking thinking. Now, on my channel, I've had a ton of people on who I disagree with. Well, definitely with religion, but even in politics. I've had flat earthers on, but not too many. Just because it's not that interesting to me. Did anyone hear that PineCreek got banned in Pakistan by the government? Are you joking, or is that true? Well, my guess is in Pakistan they ban don't they ban YouTube in general? Yeah. So anyhow, I gave my one friend the gears on that this whole guilt by association thing, we can't. And I remember disagreeing with other atheists on that. Oh, what's that Anderson guy from Phoenix who says gays are going to hell? And who else? There's another guy. No, I'd have him on my channel. Here's another thing. Most homosexuals who get mad at fundamentalist Christians who saying they're going to hell for being homosexual, who cares? Like I'm going to peeve off the homosexuals now. You guys need to get stronger. Like, do you believe hell exists? Now, I guess I'll have to give some grace to the homosexuals who believe hell exists, because then that's pretty bad, right? But I don't know what percentage of homosexuals believe hell exists, like eternal conscious torment. And no, seriously, get stronger, because there can be two homosexuals and one street preacher, and the street preacher says, "You homosexuals are you're sinning, you're going to hell." One homosexual can just say, "That's funny." The other homosexual says, "No, that's a hate crime, blah, 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 you stop it, blah, 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 silence, blah, blah, blah." Now, that one homosexual who's doing all the ranting about how this is so bad, probably not going to sleep at night that well, and is probably going to have a tough life. The other homosexual is like, just brush it off. You don't believe any of it's true anyhow. So be like the homosexual that just brushes it off. And ask questions like, well, why do you believe hell is real? Let's talk about that. Instead of having this knee-jerk reaction, someone said, "I'm going to hell, they're a bad person," stop it. No. You just get stronger. Yeah, homosexuals need to get stronger, some of you. Okay, so I peeved off the homosexuals. Who's next? That's almost like calling a person, Street Disciple says, that's almost like calling a black person the N-word, but I understand your point. Yeah, I would say the same thing to black people. Like, what's the worst thing you'd call me? What's the word that some black people call white people? A honky? Honky? I don't know. Hell is an evil concept. Yeah, it is an evil concept, but if you don't believe it's real, it's not going to bother you, right? Oh, okay. Irish with some sun. See, this is the difference between you and me. The problem isn't saying gays to hell as much as the attitude behind it. I don't care about people's attitude behind it. I care about people's actions, as well as what it does for young gays in the closet and their families. Okay, that's a better point, because I do think children have a harder time with the emotional part than adults. Now, here's the problem, or here's how I'm going to take off people. Adults who actually feel bad because of the attitudes of others, not the actions, but the actual belief system of others, they're acting like children. The adults themselves are acting like children. The goal of becoming an adult is like that saying, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me," is to get to the point in life where someone can look you in the eye and say, "You're evil, you're going to hell," and say, "Oh, okay." And you just go ahead eating your bowl of Cheerios. It doesn't bother you. That's the goal in life, I think. It's to become dead inside. No, okay, I got to rephrase that. The whole phrase "become dead inside," some people might view that as a Stoic philosophy or a Buddhist philosophy, and maybe it is, but what I mean is that you choose, no, that's probably the wrong way to say it. Try to exhibit your strong emotions in certain areas of life, and then try to become dead in others. So here's an example. Someone says you're going to hell. Be dead inside. Someone says you're an evil bigot. Be dead inside. But you go to a musical, The Fiddler on the Roof, and you hear the music and the acting, and you feel like a tear is about to come out of your eyes. Let that emotion come out then. You're on a roller coaster. You got the fear of death when you're at the very top. Let yourself revel in that fear of death. Let your emotions out in appropriate situations. There you go. Doug could be a pastor. This is good preaching. Thanks, Tim Doran. I'm trying to, I'm a utopian idealist. I'm just trying to make the world a better place. Okay, who I need to tick off more people. Who can I tick off next? Oh, yeah, the Rittenhouse case. Is it Rittenhouse? Yeah. Yeah, I agree with the jury. And from the very beginning, when I saw the video footage, I didn't say this publicly, but I said to myself, he'll be acquitted. Now, here's my theory. Here's my hypothesis. Here's my guess. Here's my take it or leave it comment. I think most people who have this knee-jerk or who thought Rittenhouse was guilty of something are not dead inside. They're doing it for emotional reasons. And if you don't believe me, and if you're one of those people who think Rittenhouse was guilty of something, legally, I'm talking legally here. There's other issues of, there's moral issues, like should he have been there in the first place? But legally, he was guilty of absolutely nothing. For the people who disagree with me, pretend that instead of a Black Lives Matter protest, it was a KKK protest. So members of the KKK, they're protesting. Some of them are causing violence or destruction of property. And then there's this guy named Rittenhouse, he's against KKK. And he's there to protect the property from the KKK members, or, to provide medical help, whatever. He's there. And but he has a gun. And imagine everything is exactly the same as the Rittenhouse case, except switch Black Lives Movement for KKK. Now my question to the people who think Rittenhouse was guilty, is he still guilty? Or would you exonerate him? So in other words, he would have killed members of KKK and injured one. Be very honest with your answer. Would you still be so quick to say Rittenhouse was guilty of anything? I don't know. Maybe you still would say yes and say, I don't care if it was KKK or BLM. But I think for a lot of people, that plays a part because of this tribalistic instinct. You automatically don't give the benefit of the doubt. You automatically say, oh, this is just some racist young guy, blah, blah, blah. Am I wrong? But I do understand there's deeper issues at hand here, and that is the trial was a little bit about the Second Amendment. Many white people feel entitled to take the law into their own hands due to the Second Amendment. Yeah, that's what I just said. It's about the Second Amendment. But if that's the real issue, then it's a debate between whether or not the Second Amendment should be there. Like this is to let you know how different I am to, my guess is to close to 50% of you. If I go to a store and there's a guy next to me with a pistol on his hip, I live in Arizona. This happens often. If I go to a store and there's a guy with a gun on his hip, or even a gun on strapped on his shoulder, guess what? I feel safer. True story. Because if he wanted to do violence against me, it would have been done by then, by the time I noticed that he's holding a gun. I feel safer rather than unsafe. Now, I bet you, about half of you, if you go into a store, a grocery store, and you see someone with a gun on their hip, half of you are going to feel uncomfortable. And the difference between you and me is I was raised with guns all around me. I mean, all around me. I used guns at 12. I used guns way more before the age of 18 than after. I've killed, not people, but animals with a gun. One was a horrendous killing. My dog got hit by a car. We lived right along a highway. and my dad wasn't home. But it didn't die, but it was mangled and suffering badly. As a 12-year-old kid, I got my dad's 30-30, and I had to point that gun at my dog's head and kill it. I actually think that if most people went through that sort of experience to see the benefit of guns, there's other examples of where we've had to kill wolves, stray dogs who are after our chickens and turkeys. You would say you wouldn't be scared of guns. If you handled a gun every day and then you go to a store and you see someone with a gun on their hip, you would not automatically feel uncomfortable. A teen with an illegal gun, PineCreek. See, this is the problem, Tape Deck. Are you sure it was an illegal gun? What if you became convinced it was a legal gun? Would you change your mind on the whole case? What if the guy is a PineCreek hater who just hasn't recognized you yet? You know what, Brent? That's a good question. But even people who don't like me, seriously, how many people who don't like you want to kill you? How many people who don't like you seriously would risk going to jail for their lives? The real people to be scared of with guns are the mentally ill. Because even the most evil person with a gun who can think rationally, they're probably not going to kill you. But the mentally insane with the gun, now we have a problem. People are crazy, Doug. People who carry guns in the open are crazier. No. I feel safer with someone with a gun next to me. It's like having a dog next to you. Like when my wife or a daughter goes for a walk, we've got our German Shepherd there. And this German Shepherd's it's pretty aggressive. I will leave the area if I saw someone with a gun near me. Yeah, Iron Chair and Tear. That's because you were raised probably not around guns, right? Mentally ill people can get guns too. I know, that's the sad part. Okay, so talk about Rittenhouse. Who else can I peeve off? Oh, by the way, I should give the link. So yeah, the moral of the story is so far is like hate less, love less, be more dead inside. Do schools have mentally ill macho students? Oh, definitely. I don't know. Here in the American Southwest, people shoot others at the drop of the hat. That's not true, Brent. I live in the Southwest. People don't shoot each other at the drop of a hat. Usually there's a reason. And most of the time, the killings that go on are between... hang on. Who do we got here? It says Catholic.
Oh.
Hello. You want to show your face? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you ready to take back what you said about the Catholic Church?
Only if you show your face.
Show my faith?
Yeah.
Sure, I can share with you a bunch of things about my faith that you misrepresented.
Can you? I know I said face, not faith. Can you show your face?
Oh, no.
Why not?
I just prefer not to.
Why?
Because I don't show my face on the internet.
What are you scared of?
No, it's just a personal preference. It's not that I'm scared.
Okay. Have I talked to you before?
Yes.
Remind me what we talked about last time.
We were just kind of going back and forth.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, what did I
from a
say to misrepresent the
Christology.
Catholic faith then?
Well, you're saying basically, you know, basically the opposite of what we believe.
What did I say?
Well, can you restate it?
No. You're saying I said the opposite of what you believe, and then I asked you, well, okay, what did I say?
Well, for example, you're saying that, the Catholic Church is basically just teaching superstitions and things that are not real, but that's not true because the fundamentals of the Catholic Church go back to what Jesus taught, and it has to do with our everyday lives and how we enact that, how we treat others, how we do everything in our daily lives.
Okay, I gave you my opinion on that. I think Catholics are superstitious, but I gave a more meatier thing, the difference between Catholics and Protestants. Do you remember what I said about that?
The difference between Catholics and Protestants?
Yeah, I said something about that. Do you remember what I said?
When you were talking about Mike Winger?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I mean, I already know the differences between.
I know, but did I say anything incorrect in your opinion about that?
Not that I was thinking about. No, I was kind of just listening along.
Okay, so when it comes
But
to the theological difference between Roman Catholics and Protestants, did I do what grade would you give me? A, B, C, D, or F?
I'll give you an A. But I didn't really listen to that. I was more
Okay.
focused on your
Okay,
misrepresentation
good,
of
good. I appreciate you
the
gave me an
Catholic Church.
A on the theological stuff, but what's bothering you is I made you feel bad by calling you and your people superstitious, correct?
No, you know what the thing is, you made me feel bad because you're misrepresenting something, and what you're spreading is like being dead inside. That's not good, man. And the Lord says, "Come to me, all who are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest." So I want you to find that rest, and it's only in Jesus that you can. For example, like the Catholic Church teaches the seven deadly sins: pride, covetousness, lust, anger, gluttony, envy, and sloth. The opposite being
You know what that
humility,
reminds me of?
generosity, chastity, meekness, temperance, brotherly love, and diligence. So the Catholic Church teaches the opposite of what you're.
That reminds me of that movie. What was that movie with Brad Pitt and Kevin Spacey? The Seven Deadly. Yeah, it's called Seven. Yeah, it's called Seven. Have you seen that movie?
I've heard of it, and I haven't seen it
Yeah,
though.
you should watch that movie. It's really good. But getting back to the superstition thing, I just gave you my opinion, what I thought. So when a priest, you call them priests in the Catholic Church, right? Bishops?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when a bishop is in church and they have a table and they put the communion bread and communion wine on it, and they view that table as holy, in my opinion, that is superstitious.
Do you know where that comes from?
Probably the early church fathers, and also from the Bible with the ark and maybe some other things.
From Jesus. It comes from the Last Supper. So, if you ever heard the phrase, "Blessed are those called to the supper of the Lamb."
Yeah, but
So in
no.
heaven we will
I'm
be
talking about the
dining
table that it's on.
with the high priest,
I'm talking about the table.
the altar.
Yeah.
Yes. So altar goes back to the time of sacrifice in the time of the Old Testament.
Yeah, I just think it's superstitious to think a piece of wood has some holiness to it.
It's not. No, it's not a piece of wood. I mean, they can be made out of rock. It doesn't matter. It's just
Yeah,
that's an
to me, it's
altar.
superstitious to think a rock has some holiness attached to it.
Well, it represents a lot of things, and it goes back to the Old Testament. So
Yeah,
it's
okay.
grounded in
I
history.
understand. Hey, I understand you believe that. I'm just giving you my opinion. I think it's like rubbing a rabbit's foot. Now, you can disagree, but I'm just giving you my opinion that I want you to understand and realize that when I think about Roman Catholics, I often think about that. I think bad thoughts about you. And I want you to work on being okay with that, because you can think bad thoughts about me and I'm okay with it. Right?
No,
We can disagree and
I
have bad
mean
thoughts about each other.
you can fundamentally be okay with it, but I'm not going to think bad thoughts about you because that's just not my belief system.
Well, no,
I, you know,
bad. You can think bad. You don't think any bad thoughts about me? Didn't you just say?
I might dislike the things you're saying,
That's what
but
I
it
mean.
only like if you misrepresent the church unknowingly, or
You gave me an A.
Yeah, well, like just basically saying what the difference is between Catholic and Protestant are. But then when you start like slandering, obviously I'm not with you on that. But
Slandering. I gave my opinion that saying a piece of wood or piece of rock is superstitious. That's slander?
well, no, no, that's just not. That's not. I mean, that's an altar. You're not really saying anything about it.
Yeah, I'm saying to view an altar as being holy is superstitious. Now, if that bothers you, that's more of a reflection about you than me. You should say, well, of course Doug thinks that because he's an atheist, and just let it go.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for calling in.
So, but okay. So,
But take care. I got another caller named Chris. Hey, Chris. Can I show your face? Hey, thank you for the donation, my one black friend. Hello, everyone. Caller, you offended me. PineCreek, what did I say? Caller, I don't know. Say it again. I like that. Yeah, I noticed that too. What's up, Chris?
Hey, I just wanted to ask you a question. What is something about this world that you're passionate about changing? Because I think one of the differences between you and maybe some of the more liberal people that watch you is like you got a real stoic attitude that's like, yeah, just, get over it, personal responsibility thing. And I think people that disagree with you about like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, about other things, they want to change things, make sure that bad things don't happen like that again,
Yeah, well, I think we all agreed that we don't want bad things happen again. The question is what is bad and what's justified and all that. I don't think the Kyle Rittenhouse case is even close. It's not even on the radar of I think intelligent, non-emotional people on the left, they look at the evidence and they'll agree with what the jury came up with. But you asked me what am I passionate about? I think my YouTube channel speaks to that. It's like because I'm an ex-Christian, I'm passionate to let the world know that Christianity is false.
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm passionate about poker too. Do you play?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't have money either.
Oh, you've heard that line. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No. Yeah. That's all I wanted to ask you.
Okay. Well, take care. Thanks for calling in.
Yep. Take it easy.
Let me talk to you. Why did your demons make you run, PineCreek? No control of them. You got somewhere to be. Last Supper apologetics. I do not understand you. Sanjeev, he crossed state lines. Yeah, there's so many facts in that case that weren't facts. He didn't drive 4 hours with a gun in his car. He didn't cross state lines with a gun. It was at his friend's dad's house, right? I mean, gotta at least get the facts right. I could be wrong with what I just said, but I think that's a different issue rather than he's justified to kill people. Now, if Kyle Rittenhouse was a Christian, I could make a better argument, a moral argument against him. He shouldn't have killed those people because they're probably going to go to hell because one was a pedophile and one had they were like debauched people, right? Here's the truth. The truth is the world's probably a better place because the people that he killed are down dead. Like, that's probably the truth. Ooh, how many people did I peeve off there? Hey, Franklin, good to see you again. I can make a better argument.
Hey, Doug. Let me cut that.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Oh, hold on a second. That ain't gonna work.
You're looking good. You're looking trim. Did you lose weight?
All right. Sorry, technical difficulties. I'm new at this.
That's all right. You can hear me now, though, right?
Yeah, I had YouTube going at the same time.
Did you lose weight?
Not to my knowledge. You know what? Somebody asked me that I hadn't seen in about 6 months, so maybe I have lost weight. I don't really know. Oh. I had a bad camera issue last time too, so maybe it had something to do.
Oh yeah, the camera puts on 20 pounds, right?
or takes it off. I don't know.
Okay, so do you want to agree with me or disagree with me today? What are we doing?
Man, I don't really know. The reason why I was calling in was I was thinking that this sort of dovetailed on the last conversation that we had. I kind of you called me cognitive dissonant. You had, said that I was dealing with cognitive dissonance, and I sort of threw that back at you in regards to politics. And I was just curious what your thoughts were in regards to the fact that where you seem to line up politically is more in the Christian camp, even though, and how that deals with your view. And let me ask you this way: why do you think that your atheist brethren tend to more line left?
Well, that's an easy question to answer. Because they've lost a certain hope. Ex-Christians, anyhow, ex-Christians who are now atheists have lost a version of hope, meaning, and purpose, and they need to replace it. And many of them have replaced it with secular humanism. And so things like justice. Oh, my wife is just saying something. Okay. They have to replace this hope, meaning, purpose with something else. They don't have to, but it usually does. And it goes with human secularism. And things like justice, for a Christian, they can say, well, even if things go awry here on planet Earth, God's the final judge. An atheist can't say that, right? So they are more passionate about with justice here on planet Earth, which makes total sense. I get that. And but I think the danger in it is, for a lot of atheists, they stop questioning or give more benefit of the doubt to certain movements like BLM, CRT, just conservatism in general, and they just have this animosity against it for a lot of times for emotional reasons, in my opinion. You probably agree with everything I just said, right?
Yeah, I actually do. I was thinking on this point, and it being a Christian, one of the things that jumped out at me that matched my worldview is this phenomenon that the left, or that atheists tend to push left. And the reason why I think that matches my worldview is because of what Jesus said in regards to you can't serve two masters. So what ends up happening is that when you throw off, let's say, the divine dictator, as maybe like Hitchens like to say, you tend to replace him with a more earthly master. And so, that's the way I thought of it, but which, I think sort of matches the way that you described it.
Yeah. I don't know about the earthly master part, because I think a lot of atheists wouldn't go buy into that. But what they do buy into is, and this is a human condition, is tribalism, right? Yeah. And so when you leave one tribe, you search for another tribe. And this is what maybe makes me different, is because I'm okay to be basically tribeless. I'm okay not having a whole lot of friends or close friends. I'm okay with people hating me and not liking me. But for a lot of people, no, they can't deal with that. They need a new tribe to replace their old tribe. And they've found new tribes in a lot of these social movements.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think me and you are actually really similar personalities. So obviously with the religious aspect being different. The other thing I noticed too is that there's this great irony because, as a Christian, we exalt humankind as the image of God, and yet, implicit in our view of the world is this idea of original sin. So on the other hand, we have this very negative view of humanity, whereas, an atheist, I think, tends to have a more positive outlook on humanity. And they tend to go, well, if we just had the right program in place, if we just had the right leader, if we just funded it enough, then you'll get the panacea of equity and fairness and everything that. Whereas a Christian, we go, well, you're never going to get that here.
Yeah, and I agree with you. They tend to be more atheists tend to be more optimistic. because they kind of have to be. That's where they get their hope. The hope is here on planet Earth, whereas for you, your hope is in your eternal life. But I'm different than the average atheist because I know we're screwed. Like to think, like people who think, oh, if you wear enough masks, we can get rid of COVID. No, COVID's here to stay. You're going to be long dead, and COVID's still going to be around. Like, I'm okay with living with that lack of hope, even on planet Earth, and being a realist that, you know, a huge rock could hit our planet 10 years from now, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. It's happened before. It can happen again. And that's that. And, you know, for you, you're okay with that because, hey, well, that's God's plan and you go to heaven, you're fine. For me, no, that's the end of mankind. And that's that. And so it's really, I think, really difficult. This is why religion exists, in my opinion, because most people can't survive with that gloomy outlook of life. They either commit suicide or they become religious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I thought about this too, and this is on the religious aspect. I know you're familiar with C.S. Lewis, and I wanted to throw this at you. One of the things that I found compelling, I think it was in Mere Christianity, he said that, I forget how he phrased it, but basically because we hunger, there's food, we thirst, there's drink. Therefore, the fact that we have this desire for the divine, there must be divinity. I was wondering what your thoughts on that were. I don't know that you've addressed that before. At least
that speaks to, the desire is real, but is the thing behind it, is that real? So you can say, I'm hungry. Does that mean food exists? Well, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe there's this desire in us. Food's a bad example because I think everybody agrees food exists, but are there desires we have in our life that are for things that don't exist? And I think, and you've probably heard me say this before, I think the idea of God came about because of evolution. And I think it came, we have examples of it in the in nature, in the animal kingdom today, even with the gorillas. Like there's a tribal leader gorilla, the silverback, and the whole tribe follows and does exactly what the leader wants them to. And I think we human animals evolved to replace the silverback with an invisible, imaginary leader that we submit to and follow. Because with the silverbacks, as the silverback gets old, it fights with another silverback, and then it changes, and it constantly causes change. And humans wanted something more permanent.
Okay. No, I actually, as much as I've listened to you, somehow I've missed that.
Yeah. So I think evolution can explain this desire you speak of. I think we evolved to believe in something higher than ourselves, to maybe watch us while nobody else is watching, so we behave well. Yeah. So really, atheists who truly believe there's no God have evolved out of their programming.
You've escaped the matrix.
I'm the only, between you and me, like you're still in the matrix. You're plugged in.
Okay.
Now I've seen real life, and it's horrible out there. You know. Now the question is, do you want to live in reality, or do you want to stay in the matrix and keep eating your medium rare meat?
See, I would have thought I would have been red pilled up until this conversation, but now I don't know.
See, and for most people, I've actually said this on my channel too, most people can't handle being atheists.
Oh, you mean because they have to have that crutch, you mean? And that's...
Yeah, hope, meaning, purpose, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do think, if you ask me one of the reasons what Christianity brings me, what Christ brings me, I would say hope. So to that point. So yeah, you're not wrong on that point.
Yeah.
But I don't look at it as a crutch either, because I look at it as a part of reality. So I think hope has a utilitarian function.
There's a lot of atheists who wish they could believe it.
Yeah, and I've talked to some, yeah, and I understand that. It's just that I think that it just depends on what you believe to be true. You know, I mean, we've talked about evolution before. I'm not a believer in evolution, so it makes it easier for me to believe in divinity. I know that there are Christians that have that, but and I don't want to rehash it, but I'm just saying that the idea of when you go down that scientific path, it makes it a little bit harder to to think of it in terms outside that. You want to just, you can't define it, you can't necessarily observe it the same way that you might, although I would argue there's things that are believed on y'all's side that you haven't actually observed either. But nonetheless, it's looked at as a measurable thing, whereas I think you guys probably look at God as not very measurable, not very definable. So
it's weird because many Christians will admit you can't put God in a test tube. Yet I think unless you're a cessationalist, you can see a lot of Christians will admit that you can see the results of what God does. So, which I think is you can put in a test tube, like someone coming back to life. You can measure that scientifically. So I see Christians going both sides of that. It's like you can't test God; he's not scientific, but yet you can test what he does. And I don't know. But anyhow, I got I think a token female who wants on, and females are better than males. So
that's what I hear. All right, thanks, Doug.
Take care.
Bye.
Let's see if I'm right that it is a female. Nope, I was wrong. Wild Heart. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Hello, sir. Thanks for letting me on.
Yeah, what do you got to say today?
I'm not sure what the topic is. I've not been watching.
Okay, well then we'll talk to you some other time. You just don't come on to hang out. This is not a hangout. Come on with a purpose. Come on with hope. Come on with meaning. Don't come on and say, I don't know what's up. I know you're Irish. That doesn't give you any excuse. Poor Irish. Yeah, cold-hearted PineCreek. Is it too much to ask to come on with a purpose and reason with know what you want to say? Catholic, you already were in, but nobody's coming, so. You the same guy that was here earlier?
Yeah, man.
Oh, you figured something else you wanted to say to me?
Yes.
Okay.
I have other stuff.
Well,
because
keep it interesting, okay?
All right, sure.
Don't bore me.
When you make a claim against the church, you have to understand that there's a response for that, and you have to hear the response. Otherwise, it's...
What claim did I make against the church?
Well, you're saying basically the church is teaching nothing but superstitions.
I didn't say that.
Have our faith, and that's it.
I did not say that. I never used the word nothing but.
So can we talk about something important that you said, which was being dead inside?
Yes.
Because that is the complete opposite. And yes, I'm going to put it in the same pit. I agree with you as the Buddhist teachings of, reject all feelings interiorly. That is not what we want. We want understanding and love, and we want to communicate in that way with pure love. If you're dead inside,
But did you hear what I said about that? I talked about that in the first 15 minutes of me going on. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, I heard exactly what you said.
Okay, well, I said that sometimes it is good to show emotion, but what did I say?
Well, you said basically just express your emotions how you feel you want to.
No, I didn't say that.
You said not all the time, but you should express your emotions at times.
Right, and what were those times? I listed some examples.
In times of anger?
No, you weren't listening. That's so disappointing. I said that if you're going to express intense emotions like love and hate, do it during a play, do it during a musical, do it on a roller coaster, do it in the moments where I think it is better to express those emotions and just let it all out. But when you're having a conversation with someone about whether Roman Catholicism is true or not, then you and I should become dead inside and be as objective as we can, not care about the consequences, but just look at the evidence to see if it's true or false. Would you agree with this?
No, because when should you express hate? Give me an example. When's the time you should express hate?
Like at a play where you're watching a character that's doing heinous, evil, nefarious things. You hate that character in that moment. You read a book and there's a character and you hate that character.
Okay.
But
So,
do you agree with my comment that when we're trying to figure out what is true or not, that we should, what I mean by being dead inside, I mean, we try to strip away all the emotional attachment to what we want to be true. We try to lower our biases as much as possible to figure out what is true or not. Would you agree with that?
yes, to a certain extent, but you were saying also just sin if you're a Catholic, which is wrong.
Oh,
saying,
yeah. I did say that. Yeah. Oh, and I know that would bother you. Yes.
well, because sinning according to Catholicism is doing the opposite of truth. It's like saying enjoy pain. It's impossible. You cannot instruct people to do the opposite and be happy.
What did I say that to? I said you should sin. What was I talking? Oh, I was talking about contraception, right?
Yeah, you touched on that before.
Okay.
You were saying do sin and use contraception.
So let's talk about contraception and the Roman Catholicism. Am I right to say that the Roman Catholic Church is against birth control?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree that some people have children unexpectedly?
Unexpectedly, yes, but willfully also yes.
Meaning that they willfully had coitus, but
Yes.
they didn't mean to get pregnant. Okay, so we're both agreed that happens. Do you agree that happens in situations on planet Earth where the child cannot be properly taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, now I want you to be very honest with me. Is it better for that child to be born or not born if it's born in a situation where it's most probably, we don't know for sure, but probably going to die a very terrible death like starvation? Is it better that that child not be born?
Is it better that the child not be born once the child is conceived?
No. Oh, sorry. I'll back it up. Is it better that
Yes.
that child not be conceived?
Well, that means that people shouldn't have sex. Then yes, that's what you're saying.
Well, let's take it one step at a time. Is it better that that child not be conceived?
Well, that's how you conceive a child. A male and a female come together, so it's better that they don't come together. Yes.
Okay. And so you and I are in agreement. Now, the only difference between us is I'm saying that you can prevent conception through birth control. And you're saying you shouldn't prevent conception through birth control, but rather you should just abstain from coitus.
You know why I'm saying that?
Yeah, because the church teaches that.
Well, no, it's not only that. It's because of the fact of it. So it's not just because. So if the church teaches something that I don't agree with, there's different issues within the church, salvific issues. I mean, you have to accept Jesus died on the cross and things like that. If you don't accept that, you can't be part of the church. But there's other issues that, there's explanations for, and you pick whether you accept that or not. But that has nothing to do with, you know what I'm saying? I
understand where you're coming from, but let's look at this very practically.
I'm
very glad that we both agree it's better that child would not be conceived rather than be conceived. I'm glad we agree. Now, tell me what's the worst that could happen if you sinned against God and used birth control in a situation that I just described to prevent a child from suffering greatly? What's the worst that could happen?
Well, this is the worst that could happen. See, first of all, none of us know the future. So to 100% say that child should not come out because I think that they're not going to be able to survive, that would be the first sin. Now, using the birth control, that would be the greater sin because birth control is a form of abortion, which is murder. The actual way it plays out is murder because the baby is conceived, which is a life.
No, I'm talking about before conception.
No, but plan B, like pills.
No, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into abortion. I don't want to get plan B. I'm talking about birth control before conception.
What does that mean?
That means that the sperm does not touch the egg.
They don't have that. That's how it works. it conceives.
I'm
and
talking about like
it
a condom.
Okay, a condom, contraception as far as a condom. Okay.
Okay, so let's say you have coitus with a woman in Africa and you're married, okay? But you are poor and you've already lost 3 kids to starvation. Okay? Now I'm asking you, you're still Roman Catholic though. What's the worst that could happen to you if you purposely say, I believe contraception is a sin, but I'm still going to wear a condom and have coitus with my wife? What's the worst that would happen to you in your belief system?
So you're falling under the sin of adultery because it's not.
No, it's your wife.
Well, if it's your wife, then you need to procreate because that's the reason you marry a wife.
No, but I'm asking you, let's say you choose.
If she's your wife, I guess, that's a different argument, but
But you're okay with putting on a condom if it's your wife?
I would have to talk to, I don't know. I would have to get opinions on that because if it's your wife, that's a different topic. But if it's just different.
Well, wait a minute. I thought the
randomly-
church said that whether you're married or not, contraception is wrong.
Well, I think that the main pushing of that is to preserve life, because Plan B's like pills, they actually abort the baby. They don't
Okay,
prevent it.
but so you're saying that you're okay with wearing a condom for Roman Catholics to wear condoms if they're married?
No, I'm saying I 100% don't know. Well, you should procreate. You only get married to procreate. But I'm saying if there's this, I don't know.
Okay. So if your answer is I don't know, let me ask this: if it were true that the Roman Catholic Church says that whether you're married or not, if you're married and you put on a condom, that's a sin before God, would you accept it as a sin before God?
Yes, because you have to basically deny your flesh. You see, you're only doing the act then with your own flesh.
Good. So let's go under the assumption now that the Roman Catholic Church says it's a sin to wear a condom even if you're married. Now, here's my question. It's the same question again. You're in Africa, you're married, 3 of your kids already died of starvation, and you want to have coitus with your wife because of your natural God-given desires, and you put a condom on because you don't want another child to die. My question is, what's the worst that would happen to you in your belief system if you did that? If you purposely sinned against God and the church?
Well, that's the sin of lust that you're actually you're taking double sin because you're.
What's the worst that will happen to you?
Well, if you don't truly repent of those sins, then God will judge you for that on Judgment Day. It depends on the heart.
Okay, but judgment means nothing. Like a judge can sentence someone and say they're guilty, but that in itself doesn't do anything. What will happen to you?
No, I'm saying like if you die with that sin, you'll be judged for that.
Okay, so what? What's so bad about being judged for that? So God says what you did was really wrong. Is that the worst that will happen?
If it's fornication, the Bible says no fornication.
It's not fornication. You're married.
I know, but that's why I'm saying I don't know what it is, because that's a tough topic. A condom is a tough topic, but 100% pills, you can't do that. Abortion, we cannot do that. But I don't know about that if you're married. I'm not sure.
Okay, but hang on.
Right.
I we've already agreed. If the church says it's wrong, it's wrong. But I'm asking you, what's the worst that could happen?
It's probably wrong.
My question was, what's the worst that could happen to you if you purposely sinned and wore a condom and had coitus with your wife? And you said you'll be judged. Okay, so is that the worst?
Looking at it from the outside, and you don't have, and you don't believe in God, then you can just say nothing. But
compare those two situations. Situation one, if you don't wear a condom, you might get your wife pregnant and she gives birth into a situation where you've already lost 3 kids to starvation. And so you'll have another child that dies a slow and painful death of starvation. That's one thing that could happen. Another thing can happen is God says, oh, what you did was sin. Which is worse?
You're putting the two up like they're, really,
which is worse, a child dying slowly of starvation, or God saying what you did is bad?
Well, you're saying the next child is going to die.
Yeah, in this hypothetical, the next child's going to die of starvation. Which is worse? Your next child dying of starvation, or God saying, bad boy?
You're unsure of the next child dying.
I know, but I'm saying in this hypothetical, the child is going to die. What is worse?
You should forego having intercourse with your wife in that case.
No, but you're having intercourse.
No, that would be un-Catholic. Then you wouldn't be Catholic, because the Catholic view would be you forego intercourse. You're asking from a.
Here's what I think. I think that it's much, much worse than for a child to die slowly of starvation than your God to judge you and say, bad boy, you shouldn't have had coitus.
See, I think the line between our understanding here is that you have to understand the concept of denying the flesh. The flesh works against the spirit. So not everything that you feel.
I'm not interested in your preaching. I know all this.
No, I know it sounds like preaching, but I'm not trying to preach.
I know all this already.
Would you agree with this? That not every time you feel something, like you shouldn't act on everything.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right.
It's called self-control. Okay. I agree.
So how do you know that what you were saying about being dead inside is not just something you were saying because you just
that helps with self-control? Being dead inside helps with self-control because you're not being swayed by your biases and emotions.
Because so you think that emotions are inherently bad?
No, not inherently bad, but I think emotions, we've evolved to have emotions for a reason, but I think emotions can get in the way, can get in the way from looking at the evidence objectively. But anyhow, I got 2 other callers, and you've already been on twice, so go check with the church about the
I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's wrong, but that'll be my final statement. Just forego your flesh.
Okay, forego your flesh. Okay, take care. Be a vegan. Let's see here. Hey, I remember you. The Mind Says, right? Did we talk before? Maybe not.
Yeah, we've spoken in the past.
Okay. There's a bit of a delay.
How can you forget me? I got you to believe in God. How can you forget about me?
What? You did?
Yeah, remember we were talking about how, like, what is it called? There's no difference between a person who believes in determinism and a person who believes in God. Remember that?
No.
Yeah, I was saying, don't you believe that there's some outside force that's kind of, if you're a determinist, then you're kind of under the idea that there's outside forces that are influencing you to act.
Yeah. So you were basically saying the universe is God then?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about science, a little bit about science and what it's supposed to do and what it's not doing.
Okay, what do you want to say about what it's supposed to do?
Okay, well, science. What from your perspective, what is science?
It's a method.
Because I have a whole different definition of what science is, but the mainstream definition.
Science is a tool. It's a method to arrive at either pragmatically things that work or things that some people would say are true.
Okay, and I like to say, like, it's either naturally occurring process. That's what I like to say science is, naturally occurring process. But I know people say it's the observation of nature and the understanding of it, right?
It's many things. It's a hypothesis, observation, testing, conclusion, and then if you get a whole bunch of them, you get a theory. But
well, now you're talking about the method, scientific method.
Yeah, that's what I think. Science is a method. It's a tool.
I definitely think there's a difference from a science and the scientific method. I think there's a difference.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so I don't know, the science of geology versus the science of you're studying the sciences of chemistry. That's how you're using the word?
Well, I'm saying science has more than one meaning, and yeah, that's one of the. I'm not saying it's strictly.
Okay.
It's not strictly to the scientific method. Science encompasses a certain.
Okay.
Ideology.
I'm already getting bored of this, so method. Tell me why I should care about any of this or make it interesting.
Okay, so science is supposed to be able to explain reality, right? The observation of reality in short terms.
Okay.
But like the very foundations of reality, we don't even, science can't even. Once we start looking into it, we start realizing it gets more complex. The more we understand, the more we look into it, the less we understand about it, because it gets more complex and more complex.
I agree.
Like the atom, the very foundations of.
Yep, I agree. What's next?
Let's see, gravity. That's another one. Where everyone.
Yeah, I
it's
agree
still
with all this, but what's your point?
There's just that a lot of stuff that science doesn't really actually even understand, but or can explain, but we're still using it and saying it's a thing to explain stuff. I mean, yeah.
You're saying we should abandon it because it can't do it all?
No, but I think people who are like so hell bent on teaching science to people should ease up a little bit on people who have like different beliefs than them, because they're trying to say it's all based on facts. And in reality, it is based off of our own perceptions and our own consciousness. That's another thing we don't even understand, consciousness.
That's true.
Like reality, in my opinion, is.
But I'm trying to get at the root of what you're saying here, what you wanted or trying to say. You're saying that I think you alluded to it, that there's a beating up between people of science and people not of science. Is that what you're getting at?
I'm just saying reality is subjective, and whatever method you apply, it's gonna kind of lean towards your favor. Like methodology and ideology kind of go hand in hand.
Well, okay, but there's certain things like I can get a Native American, a Hindu, a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Christian, an atheist from all over the world. I can put them in a room, and I can take a ball and I can throw it up in the air, and I can ask the question, what's it going to do next?
Well, they're gonna say fall, but
yeah, isn't that interesting how we all, now you're right, it's all subjective. We all have our subjective experiences, but isn't it amazing that throughout all the different biases and cultures, we can agree on certain things? Like you throw a ball up on planet Earth, it will come back down towards the Earth.
No, I don't think common sense is that crazy.
So anyhow, have a great day. That's to me
that
to me is the scientific method, is trying to get rid of those biases. Wildheart wants back in. Maybe he has something to say this time.
I've got a topic.
Okay, read it out.
It's street epistemology. What are your thoughts on it? And can street epistemology be evangelism when it's the Socratic method and you're just asking questions?
Overtly, no. But maybe a hidden agenda, yeah, if that's what you mean by. But everybody has hidden agendas. Some of them the person themselves are not even aware of. But like for people who are against street epistemology, who say it's evangelism for atheism, so is that bad?
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
They don't mind when Christians do it, so why?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah.
And Anthony Magnabosco in particular, do you think he has any hidden agendas?
No, I don't think they're hidden. I think he chooses not to disclose certain things because he knows that certain ideas trigger people. So, like he's different than me, because on my channel everybody knows where I'm coming from, but he's going out more on the street, and people might not have seen his YouTube channel. So is it wrong for him not to disclose at the very beginning, oh, you're a Christian, would you like to do an interview? And they say, sure, I'd like to interview. And he says, oh, by the way, I'm an atheist, and I think everything you believe at its core level is false, and there's no hell, there's no demons, there's no angels. And personally, I personally think you're kind of silly to believe in all these things. But now I'm going to ask you some questions. Now, some people can hear all that and say, and not be fazed. They're dead inside. They're not fazed at all. They can just still objectively ask questions. But other people, if Anthony was to be completely full disclosure like that, they would clam up and say, no, tight box. I'm not talking to you because you said you're an atheist. You don't believe. You think my beliefs are silly. And they get defensive and they just want to go home and cry.
Yeah. I agree with all that. And I think he kind of does the right thing. He asks people if they want to talk, but he talks about other things other than religion as well. I was having a discussion with someone, and they said it's kind of wrong for him to do what he does. I couldn't understand that. He's kind of making full disclosure.
Yeah, This is the new religion that I've coined, and I'm hoping it catches on. Feel sorry forism. It's a new religion that I think a lot of atheists have now embraced. Is no, you can't do street epistemology because those poor people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you question their faith and you don't replace it with something, they're going to cry and they're going to have to go get counseling. And what you're doing is more than, it's like basically you're saying you can't ask questions about what people deeply believe, because if you get them to doubt, they're like a child. They can't handle it.
Yeah.
You need to take them under your wing and slowly and gently pat them on the head. Yeah. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I mean, I don't get this, but I think a lot of atheists who are younger than me, they kind of think this way, and it's, to me, it's revolting because you're treating adults like children.
Yeah,
and
it's kind of demeaning to
the
person.
Now, but if the person says I feel uncomfortable talking about this, then say great, fine, we'll stop. Have a nice day. But until that point happens, you basically treat people like adults who are adults, and that's why I don't talk to minors. And then
do you mean? Sorry, do you mean minors as in children rather than minors as in like coal miners? Sorry, that was
children. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also understand that there's some 16-year-olds who are way more mature than some 20-year-olds. So you got to use your own personal judgment.
So, yeah.
But yeah, we got to stop infantilizing adults.
Yeah.
And this is why I picked on the homosexuals earlier, because I think a lot of people from the outside will, we got to feel sorry for the homosexuals because they've had such a hard life. And you can't say certain things because it hurts their feelings. No, I rather take the other side and treat homosexuals like adults and say, look, toughen up, get stronger. Yeah. And
but I think also Anthony Magnus kind of he tells people if at any point in the conversation you feel uncomfortable, he actually says we'll stop the conversation. He actually points that out, and I can't see how he's doing anything wrong.
No, he's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
No.
But
he's done a lot of good for the world. I truly believe that. Yeah. And just the fact, like, whether he deconverts people out of Christianity or deconverts them out of believing crystals can make you feel better, he's at least initiating a dialogue in a civil manner that gets people to think. Yeah. And I'm sure there's things that people have said to get him to think. And that's what conversation and interactions with our fellow human animals is all about.
But that is the end of my topic. I appreciate you letting me on.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I like the Irish again.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're Scottish. You're English.
I'm English.
You're English, but you live north close to Scotland.
Yeah.
So you have that Scottish tinge.
I can understand the confusion, but I am actually English. Yeah.
Okay. Take care.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I remember now. He has a bit of a Scottish tinge in his accent, but it's because he lives in northern England area. Why does that do that? Hey, Brenda.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. Can you see me?
No. Am I supposed to?
I had the camera on.
I don't see you. It just says B.
Does it matter to you?
No, I know who you are.
Okay, I was just wondering. I was prepared to show my face out of respect.
It's totally up to you, but what did you want to talk about?
I wanted to say that I agreed with some of the things that you said at the beginning of the opening here.
Oh, okay.
I agree that the ruling in the Rittenhouse case was correct. I agree that I don't quite agree that if I saw somebody with a holstered gun in a grocery store, I would feel comfortable. I wouldn't feel majorly. I would feel cautious. It would be surprising because nobody here does that. But and I think that it probably is in my case because I was raised on a farm and we had guns, and I've killed things with guns, My mom is calling me.
Yeah, you better take it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah.
Take care. Yeah, because my mom called me the other day and I didn't take it. Yeah, bad. I don't think Doug meant he doesn't talk to minors because of legal reasons. Well, yeah, it's more for my own personal philosophy in life. But you can't discount legal reasons too. I just know that I wouldn't want a 50-year-old guy talking to my son or daughter about deeply held beliefs. And they're 18 and 16. 15? 15. Doug, say something controversial. Man, you got to rewind to the beginning, J Lay 677. Man, I'm running out of controversial things to say. Oh, Autumn, are you here yet? So, for example, I think a lot of the pushback that people like, I'll pick on the left right now. Maybe I'll try to pick on the right too, but a lot of people who dislike Joe Rogan or Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson, I think a lot of the time, it'd be fun to press them on it. I think it is just an emotional tribalism type knee jerk. Most of the time, not all the time. Hey, Kay. Keith.
Hey, Doug.
How are you?
Yes. I'm good.
Have we talked before?
No.
Okay. Hey, we got some new fresh blood here.
Can you hear me okay? I'm actually using a headset on my phone.
Yeah, I can hear you. Someone in the live stream chat can tell me if it's low or high. Doug said it was better that the Rittenhouse victims were dead. Yes, I will. If what is claimed about the Rittenhouse victims, that one was pedophile and the other one had a rap sheet, a very long rap sheet. Maybe the guy who got his arm blown off, I don't know about him. But this is the uncomfortableness, is that there are people on planet Earth that if they were gone, poofed out of existence, the Earth would be a better place. That's not controversial to say. But anyhow, Keith, where are you coming from?
I guess I'm an atheist, or whatever word people like to use if I describe that I don't believe in gods.
Okay. So you're boring like me.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to ask you about when you left Christianity, because you do always talk about atheists kind of needing to replace that hope, meaning, and purpose.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you lost some of that when you transitioned?
Yeah, a little bit, but I would say it's much smaller than most people who leave. Like a lot of people, when they leave religion, they are seriously messed up. Like they need counseling for years. They still have nightmares or trauma about hell. That never really happened to me.
Well, I guess, does that mean that you already had hope, meaning, and purpose separate from your religion when you were a Christian?
No, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I would have to think about that. I'm not sure if it's that or just I'm wired differently.
So you don't really feel like you replaced it with anything?
I think this YouTube channel was a replacement.
So do you think that you would be worse off without it?
Without the YouTube channel?
At least psychologically? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think even now, like I've done this for 4 years now, approaching 5, or is it 5? I don't know. I can actually perceive or conceive of me not having a YouTube channel and not needing this outlet.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing YouTube, but
I hope not.
anytime soon. But I'm getting, like, initially it was a way to create fellowship, communion with people of like minds, and also to press, people who disagreed with me. But yeah, my need for that is waning the older I get. Because I do realize that some people, I mean, their life is so bad that like they need this, they need the crutch.
Do you think a lot of those are your listeners, though?
No. I think a lot of my listeners who disagree with me or who are Christian or Muslim, they probably still need a crutch somewhat, but they're more the apologetic type minded. And so they're not your average Jill on the street Christian. But there are quite a few average type Christians who are, you know, some of them might even hate apologetics, who watch my show and agree with a lot of things I say against apologetics. I think, see, Christianity is a religion about the weak. It's about giving the weak, the poor, hope. And so Christianity, almost by definition, is a crutch to give hope, meaning, and purpose to those who are weak and downtrodden. Like the Sermon on the Mount, perfect example. It's Jesus' example of dying on the cross. Instead of rebelling and using violence, just kind of submitting so they can go get the true hope, meaning, and purpose in heaven in some future time. So yeah,
I think that maybe even goes to your evolutionary argument, where it has a lot of utility.
Yes. Yeah. Like for Muslims, they get a lot of utility out of Islam because just like you and me, we don't like when children are raped. We don't like when our property is stolen. And Muslims, they use Islam as a way to prevent that because they believe, and maybe rightly so in some cases, that some people need a divine dictator to lay down the law to prevent those things. You and I would say, no, we don't do those things because of empathy, because we can think. We don't want that to happen to us. What kind of society would we live in if everybody did it? That sort of thing. But Islam and even Christianity to some extent believe, no, we need a divine dictator because unless we have that, like people are stupid and they will kill, cheat, rob, steal. And so we need this fear. This is the silverback gorilla laying down the law, and that's Allah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look at history, just the progress we've had in ethics and cultural development over time, that's probably pretty true. Yeah. I try not to think too lowly of people. But
that's only in the West, right?
Yeah, well, again, it's more availability of like education and opportunity, right?
Right, which is also yes, almost in the West, yeah. Like look
much in the West.
Look at the countries that are growing the most religiously, either Islam or Christianity. It's in developing countries, not in the West.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about was your own political stances. Now I know you've described yourself as conservative at times, although I think you're probably more centrist than conservative in just the way that we think of it in America.
I think I took a test once. So if let's say 0 was far left and 100 was far right, I think I was like 55 to 60.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was going to ask, do you think much of that has changed since your deconversion? Now, obviously, you're no longer going to have the religious foundations for some of the things you might have believed in the past. But do you think your political leanings have changed, or your social leanings, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd say slightly, but not as much as a lot of other atheist ex-Christians I've heard. So, but I think the main difference between me and a lot of atheists is I don't have these knee-jerk reactions as often. Like someone can say Rush Limbaugh said X, and I'm not going to immediately dismiss it. Ben Shapiro said Y. I'm not going to immediately dismiss it. Tucker Carlson said this. I'm not going to immediately dismiss it. Whereas there's a lot of left-leaning atheists out there who I think would pretty much immediately dismiss because, oh, this is a right-winger, so they must be wrong. Right?
Do you think it's yeah, I definitely know that that's the case. But I was going to say, do you think that that's mostly just tribalism, or
Yes.
sort of based on their own beliefs?
No, it's mostly tribalism. We are social creatures. We're like rats. We're like dogs. We need other organisms around us in order to survive. And the way we get, besides this idea of a God, the way we get our hope, meaning, and purpose is through the either acceptance or love of the other humans around us. And so if you have a strong need for that type of tribalism, that type of love and acceptance, you will fear greatly going outside the tribe. You will fear greatly saying the things I've said here today if you're an atheist. Like call next time, do this. If you're try this. Try say something bad about a transgender person who said, let's say, said something that you believe is incorrect or false. Say, this person's transgender and they're wrong. They're an idiot here. This homosexual is wrong and they're an idiot here. This black person, this black woman made no sense here and is an idiot. Try saying that within your tribe and see what kind of response you get. And I think a lot of this feel sorry for-ism within some atheist circles, they would be hesitant to critique a transgender, a homosexual, or a black woman compared to because of their tribe and wanting to be accepted. You agree or disagree with what I just said?
I agree, although the thing I wonder about is sort of the perpetually online version of tribes. So you have the online left, which I don't think has much in common with like people who are just your everyday liberal, I guess you'd say, in the real world. So yeah, if I were to go on Twitter and say something bad about Caitlyn Jenner, I would have a whole swath of people getting angry about it.
Oh yeah.
Whereas if I were to talk to my family, I don't think they would even care that she's trans, right? Now, my family is larger than most, and it has a lot of very left, very right, and mostly centrist kind of people, so maybe that's different than normal. But I also think that people in their real lives are in a different culture than in YouTube comments, on Twitter, even in the media.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you've seen the meme or the video of two dogs barking at each other and there's a fence between them and then the fence is pulled away and they immediately stop barking at each other and they just kind of look at each other and then the fence goes back and they start barking. That's the internet. And it's like the safety of the anonymity and so forth. But anyhow, I got a couple more callers. Thanks for hopping on, Keith.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, see ya. Autumn, I saw you popped in and then popped out because I was talking to someone, but if you want to pop in, I'll give you, yeah, I see you there in the live stream chat. Just pop on in and I'll let you in. Moral of the story, social media is brain corrupting. Yeah, you got to know when to turn it off, when to leave it on, when to walk away, when to run. You got to count your money before you're sitting at the table. There'll be time. No, don't ever count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. See how I tied in internet with poker? Yeah, see, I don't have this desire to keep making videos on YouTube as much as I used to because now I have poker every Wednesday and Thursday, Sunday. Autumn, I'm waiting for you. I got two other callers who are here ready, but I'll give you a first kick at the can. People on the far left or far right seem to think there's no middle ground. Yeah, CM Gold. The thing is, the left liberals are not wrong about everything they say. The right, the conservatives, are not wrong about everything they say. I need the link. It's pinned. Notes from Autumn. Okay, I'm going to let in someone while she figures that out.
people on the far left or far right.
Hey, Super Immortality. That's a great name. Hi there. You're going to have to turn off your tab first.
What's wrong?
You did it. Can I show your face? Oh, now you're muted. Oh, you muted yourself. You didn't turn off the tab. So unmute yourself.
Okay, what do I do?
Oh,
I haven't done this before.
You just have another YouTube tab thing open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No, you're good. I think.
Okay.
What do you want to say?
Talk about super immortality.
Super immortality. Is that transhumanism?
No.
What's super immortality?
Super immortality is the belief, actually it's a science, that identical structure and functioning or near identical structure and functioning will produce identical consciousness, which is pretty different than what most atheists believe. They believe that more the body theory that says that when you die, you are connected to your body and that's a permanent end of you. That's the annihilation of you, and that's false. And I can prove super immortality. And I can also show that super immortality is a very positive thing in this life.
I'm not sure if I followed any of that. Do you believe that there's life after death? Is that what you're saying?
It's possible and very probable. Super immortality says it's also probable. And
okay, but when you said you can prove something, what can you prove?
That super immortality is true. The science is super immortality.
And super immortality is that two identical things have the same consciousness or something? What is it?
Structure and functioning. The brain has a structure and then functions in a certain way.
Yeah.
The structure and functioning produces you. And when you die, obviously your brain is no longer producing a consciousness at all. But most people assume that you want your body, well, not religious people, but most scientific and atheists believe that once the brain stops functioning, that's a permanent end of you.
And you're saying no?
Absolutely.
And you're saying you can prove that?
Yes.
You can prove the brain, your consciousness keeps going after death?
No. To produce the consciousness, your consciousness again, you have to have a brain functioning.
Okay, what? I still don't know what you're trying to say then. What can you prove?
Super immortality, the different aspects of it.
You can prove that you need a brain to be conscious.
We already know that.
Yeah, so what? That's why I'm wondering what's so amazing about all this.
But all right, what would it take for you to exist again after your death?
What would it take for me to exist after my death? To come back to life?
Yeah, for you to experience conscious existence again after death.
Right.
What do you think it would take?
A miracle from God.
Gods don't exist. Supernatural things don't exist. Souls don't exist.
The reverse of entropy.
A reverse of entropy. Again, doesn't it take
time machine?
Doesn't it take a specific type of functioning in a brain to produce your consciousness again?
Yeah, so you need the brain to be there, and then you.
But do you have to have your original brain or any brain that produces the correct structure and functioning?
I think you need your original brain, but I could be wrong about that.
Why do you need your original brain?
Because of what you said earlier, that your consciousness is tied in closely with your structure.
Yeah, but
so different neurons would give you different consciousness.
If a different brain had identical structure and functioning, wouldn't that produce a consciousness?
Yeah, you're right. If it's completely identical, yeah.
But would you actually need it identical? Because it'd be nearly impossible to produce an identical consciousness, right?
Yeah, I agree. It would be next to impossible, but I would think you do need identical to have the same consciousness.
But what happens if you have one atom move slightly to the right or left or up or down? Wouldn't it be so close it would still produce the same consciousness?
I don't know.
Well, to think of an analogy with the TV set. The TV set, they try to make them as identical as possible, right? But, there's always slightly different difference in the thickness of a transistor or the wires that connect it. But you can still get the same.
Yeah, I see the analogy, but I think the brain is more complex than a TV set. But anyhow, thanks for coming on. I got a caller who wants to come on.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
I
Have a good day.
appreciate you accepting. And I really appreciate what you're doing. You have a great thing. I hope you keep doing it. Don't get discouraged. You need to give up poker. You really do. At least not the Sunday or the Wednesday night poker.
Do you play poker?
I would be terrible at it, so probably you'd love it.
Yeah, well, if you change
But
it,
I don't think you need the money. You're just doing it for the fun.
Yes. That's why I want to keep, because eventually
Hey,
people are going to hate me and leave, so I got to keep replacing with new blood.
I live. You know where Sonoit is?
Yeah, that's where you
I
live. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I could actually drive down to your place and play poker if I had to.
Yeah, just let you know I have a German Shepherd. Take care.
Anyway, very nice talking to you. Have a good day.
Okay, bye. Okay, Autumn. Hey, Ron, this might take a while, so. Hey, good you made it. Can you hear me? Can talk. I want to make sure I hear you.
I can hear you, but I'm also hearing.
You got the tab open.
I had YouTube open. That's why I was hearing two different audios.
Okay, so to fill everybody else in, I invited, or actually you invited yourself to come on my channel on Twitter about an hour ago, and all this started because I responded to a tweet that you did, which said what was your original tweet? Oh yeah, it was a joke, but you said, "Who here wishes that Tucker Carlson would fall down the stairs," or something like that.
Yeah, that's the gist of it. It's just, if you could wish that anyone would fall down the stairs, who would it be, and why is it Tucker Carlson? Or meme, like people answer the question for you, and that's what makes it the joke.
And then I said, "Less hate, more conversation."
Right.
I was purposely cryptic because I wasn't actually saying Autumn to you. I was just like in general, because I do think this is
to me. I guess I took it directed towards me because it was an answer to me, and you didn't say like, in my view, I think that this is like counterproductive. You just kind of told me like what I do. Like it seemed like you were just, and maybe that's an assumption on my part, but it seemed like you were saying like I just hate and I don't actually have conversations, which I mean I've done call-in shows like you do. I have conversations. I do SE with people like you do. Like we do a similar thing. We're just on different ends of the political spectrum.
So you would have a conversation with anybody?
I'm sure there are limits, right? Like I wouldn't say anybody, but I would have a conversation with people who different perspective than me, and I've
So if there was a Nazi,
if
there was a Nazi in my live stream right now, and I invited him on to talk to you, would you talk to him?
That's a complicated question. I don't know. I like platforming a Nazi is, for me, it's like I'd have to think about. I've never been faced with that dilemma, like. So
well, why? What would hold you back from talking to them?
I just wouldn't want to platform them. Maybe like talking to them one-on-one, having a conversation like in person, and having an argument in person. That I could see myself doing more than I would say like bringing them on my channel, because when you're platforming someone's ideas, you're opening yourself up to having those ideas spread as well.
Well, you and I agreed we don't think Christianity is true, right? And it's harmful.
Right, we agree on that.
But I platform them all the time. Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, my answer for now is I don't know. I haven't really thought about that question much. But
that's what
I'm not.
This is what my tweet to you was getting at, though. This was the crux of it all. It was that this whole idea is you can't platform certain ideas, I think, is bad.
So I didn't say Tucker Carlson didn't have free speech. I made it. We went down the thread. I admitted that like I actually do hate him. I don't take that back and like say, oh, I was only kidding. Like I legitimately hate the man. But I wasn't saying like he shouldn't have free speech. I wasn't saying that, he should have rights taken away, I'm saying like I hate the guy. And from a utilitarian standpoint, I just think his ideas, the ideas that he spreads, or not even ideas, but disinformation that he spreads, is so harmful that, to me, if he died literally, it would be for the betterment of society, because and so it's like whatever is the best outcome for the most amount of people, to me, wins.
So you wish he was dead?
Yeah, I think the world would be a better place if he died. Yes.
Okay. See, I don't wish he was dead. I think a lot of times he's even quite hilarious. I don't agree with everything he says. I don't actually watch him very often, but when I do, I probably agree with him more than not. Yeah,
because you answered my tweet, which kind of, let me know. Were you offended by the tweet?
No. I wasn't offended. What I was getting at is that I think in order to heal the division in our country, we have to stop hating people and instead tackle the ideas. So now, if you wish Tucker was dead, that tells me that you have such a strong antipathy or emotion against him, that I find it very hard to believe you could have a conversation with a guy like Tucker, or someone like, who believes the same as Tucker.
So I will agree with your first statement, which is that definitely it's more productive to criticize ideas and have a back and forth than it is to just have blind hatred, right? But first of all, the tweet it's Twitter, so it's not like people are having nuanced conversations on Twitter very often. It's possible.
I understand. That's why we're here.
You're limited to the platform. If I had the opportunity to have a conversation with Tucker Carlson, I think I would take it, just for the chance to obviously I'd have to prepare, because with his rhetoric and everything, it'd be a challenge for me, because I'm still new to doing this kind of content. But I would take it and I would prepare and just do my best, because to me, the chance to debunk his ideas would be a good opportunity. But I do think it's okay to hate people who are harmful. Do you hate Hitler? Would you say you hate Hitler?
No, because he's dead.
A Nazi. Okay, a Nazi, a person who still thinks Hitler's ideology, you don't hate that.
I hate actions, not ideas.
I hate the ideas that inform bad actions, though.
Yes.
It starts with...
Okay, this is the difference, yeah. The thing is, I don't think that every belief or idea is acted upon.
Not always, but I feel like it does lead to that oftentimes, which is why I don't think it's immoral to hate somebody, because if somebody is spreading disinformation to the detriment of others, it's too far into semantics to be I just hate their ideas and actions, but not the actual person. That's just seems superstitious to me.
Let me ask
how
you
do
this.
You separate a person from?
I hear what you're saying.
Of, what they do.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I do think beliefs does inform or cause actions, but I think there's so many examples where I can have ideas in my head about having coitus with women. Mm-hmm. But I'm married and I've never cheated on my wife. Mm-hmm. How does that work? And these are not just trivia ideas.
Doug? Isn't there a difference between, because this is not exactly analogous, is it? Because there's a difference. I'm going to ask it as a question. Isn't there a difference between someone who has fantasies about people outside of their consensual monogamous relationship and someone who is dishonest and acts upon those ideas or spreads the idea that you should be deceitful to someone that you've agreed to a monogamous relationship? As far as morality goes, I think that if people want to be polyamorous or polygamous, if everyone's consenting and
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about not every idea I have in my head leads to an action. That's my point.
Right. But I'm saying it's not exactly, you gave an analogy, and I'm saying it's not exactly analogous to Tucker or Carlson, or however you want to reference him, Tucker Carlson, because he on a daily basis, pretty much. What does he go on, 5 days a week? Or
I don't know.
like, so 5 out of 7 days a week, he goes on Fox and deliberately spreads disinformation.
How do you know that?
He's openly said that nobody would take his show seriously in the court of law. He says that anyone like in their right mind, we can Google it if you want.
But do you think
he's admitted that his show is a farce, like that nobody should take it seriously.
No, but that's different than saying he deliberately misleads people or gives out false information. Do you believe
if he's saying that people in their right mind wouldn't take his show seriously? If Tucker Carlson himself is saying that about his show,
but that's different,
what other
Autumn.
conclusion can I draw?
I can talk about some philosophical idea, but I can also say at the same moment that I did not purposely give misinformation about this philosophical idea, and at the same time say, but if you're really interested in this philosophical idea, don't listen to me, listen to a real philosopher. Both can be true. I can still be saying what I say and not purposely mislead and still say, yeah, compared to the court of law, it's a farce.
Okay, but we're not talking about someone, what I'm understanding from what you're saying is if someone says misinformation, but they're not knowingly spreading it, that's different than taking the truth and twisting it into your agenda for your show that's a grift to a generation or
but I'm asking you, how do you know he twisted purposely, knows the truth and purposely...
He admitted it. Can we pull up the quote? Because he said it in the court of law that his...
Sure, pull up the quote.
Yeah, I'd have to do some Googling because I don't have it ready, but... if you want to talk through the dead air, it's just going to take
No, I like dead air. I'll read some...
talk to the chat or something like that.
Yeah, I got a ton of questions for you, like, on this. Like, while you're looking for the quote, I don't know if you can do two things at once, but if you had a choice between a pedophile dying and Tucker Carlson dying, who would you choose? To me, that's a no-brainer.
Well, does the pedophile act on their...
Yes.
Yeah, then yeah, probably a pedophile. Sorry, I'm also Googling.
Yeah, I know.
So,
but
yes, if a pedophile's acting on those urges, then yeah.
I'm trying to gauge what this...
Do you hate pedophiles?
Do I hate pedophiles? I hate what they do, yeah. But like you said, you made a difference between the pedophile and the action, right?
Yeah, because somebody could be sick and like getting help for it and not acting on it. So
and as, even in when we were tweeting back and forth, I was making same distinction between a bigot and one who acts upon it.
Right, but Tucker is acting on it, and if someone is a bigot, usually they're acting on it. Like I don't know many bigots that are not causing harm to like usually marginalized groups. Like, sorry, it is
Jerome
hard for me
Robinson,
to have this conversation while I'm
talking
to the chat.
Yeah, I'm talking to the chat. Jerome Robinson says Tucker's lawyer said that, not Tucker. He shouldn't be taken seriously, not Tucker himself, just so you know. So I think the quote that you're looking for is from his lawyers, not from Tucker.
Well, yeah, but he also admitted it himself too.
Okay, we'll find it.
But if his lawyer's using, he's right. I am referencing what the lawyer said in the court of law, but then Tucker himself said to Dave Rubin, admitted during a recent interview with conservative talk show host Dave Rubin that he sometimes so he's admitted it to Dave Rubin and lies on his show, and so he's admitted it to Dave Rubin, and his lawyer said it in the court of law.
Do you have a quote of Tucker saying I've lied on my show?
Yeah. To Dave on the Dave Rubin interview. Should we watch the video of it?
But you're looking up a third party assessment of Tucker talking to Dave Rubin, yes?
Well, we're trying to pull up the quote, but we can pull up.
Yeah, we don't have time to go through a whole video and find it. But I find it very hard to believe that Tucker or anybody would go on air and say, "By the way, I purposely lied here." Now it could happen. You could be right. But I'm not going to believe a third party. What?
I'll send you the link to the video because you're saying I'm using a third-party source. So I'll send you the link to the video, and I'll send you also how the lawyer used it as his defense. And if you're letting your lawyer use it as your defense, not to take your show seriously, because someone in their right mind wouldn't do that, I feel like you're communicating through the lawyer that your show is not to be taken seriously, and it is a grift.
Yeah, but that's different than purposely misleading people.
No, he admitted it himself to Dave Rubin, and if you watch his show, you know that he's purposefully he's smart enough to know that he's purposefully misleading the older population who watches his show. Like,
so you're saying he purposely mislead, is that the same to you as lying?
Yeah.
Okay, then all advertisers are liars.
Okay, I feel like that's a non sequitur.
I know it's a non sequitur, but I'm just throw that out there, that advertising is a bunch of liars, because they purposely mislead people into thinking through pushes and pulls. But anyhow, you admitted that you were a bigot in Twitter. Is that correct?
No, I did not. I said you could have the opinion that I'm a bigot if you want to.
Okay, what's a bigot
but I
to
never
you?
said that I was a bigot.
What's
I would disagree that hating bigots makes you a bigot. Like, if you want to play like a semantics game or like use a persuasive definition.
But what's
of
a bigot?
Well, why don't you define it?
I'm asking you. I can look it up.
Okay.
But
All
what do you
right.
think a bigot is? A
I'll
person
look it
who
up
is
too.
obstinately and unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who's prejudiced against or antagonist against toward a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group.
Yeah. I wouldn't say hating a bigot makes you a bigot because they're not a member of a group. They're somebody that causes harm to other people.
So are you bigoted against Nazis?
I wouldn't use the word bigoted, but I do hate Nazis, yes. And if you want to be of the opinion that that is bigotry, if you want to define it that way, I don't care. Like, I don't mind.
Okay. Are we agreed that being a bigot is not that bad?
We're
Compared
not in
to
agreement.
acting upon it?
No, I would still say compared to acting upon it, yes, but
Okay.
I would say that's two different things. Being a bigot is not that bad is different from it's worse to act upon your bigotry. Like, it is worse, but I'm not
Okay.
going to say being a bigot is not that bad.
So that's a point of agreement between you and I. So
Yes.
I think being a bigot is not even that bad at all. But acting upon it, depending on what they do, like killing, is really, really bad. Compared to killing someone, being a bigot and just thinking that someone is, let's say, inferior or whatever, is not that bad. Compared to actually killing someone. Would you agree with that?
Depending on who you're killing, though, right? Because I'm a utilitarian. If we're killing someone who causes harm overall to the population,
Okay.
to society, then no. Like, it depends on what you're talking about. But if we're talking about like a bigot killing, we'll just say like minority groups, that is worse than someone just hating minority groups. Yes.
Is it? Okay,
I still
this is
wanna
really
get into
interesting.
it.
Okay,
A
I understand. I agree with
word
you.
Trap. Yeah. Okay.
I agree with you that killing a Hitler is not bad compared to killing a minority group. Is it wrong? Is it more wrong to kill Tucker Carlson or someone of a minority group?
Well, that's too out of a question, because like definitely if you're just killing someone because they're a member of a minority group, that is definitely less bad than killing Tucker
Someone
Carlson.
has to die. It's either going to be Carl Tuckerson or, let's say, a black woman who has you haven't even heard the rest. Let's say it's a
No,
black.
I was laughing because
Let's say it's a black woman who chopped off the arm of her husband, not out of self-defense, but just I hate you, husband, and chops off the arm of her husband.
I say that she's caused less harm than Tucker Carlson. So
Really?
in that scenario, Tucker Carlson would die. Yeah.
You'd rather kill Tucker Carlson rather than a woman who has a history of chopping limbs off.
Yeah.
What if it's a white man who chopped the limb off a black woman?
I That's tougher for sure.
See, why is it tougher? Just for the change of color?
No, it's a power dynamic, right? Like, also, but still, probably, I would say Tucker Carlson spreads more harm versus how much disinformation Tucker Carlson spreads. Like, for me, it's like, as a utilitarian, like, what's causing the most harm? So if he's spreading ideas that cause people to take those ideas and act upon them, worse than a white man that chops off a black woman's arm. So I probably still Tucker, but it is harder, right? Because there is a power dynamic. There is a difference between like a white man abusing a minority than a minority who gets angry in a one-off thing on her husband. It's about intent too, I would say.
Okay. So you would still kill Tucker Carlson. I'm just going to call him Tucker.
Yeah, that's probably easier.
What do you envision? What's something bad that one of his listeners could do because of his spreading of misinformation? Can you give a specific example?
Well, people who go like the alt-right pipeline have been known to cause mass shootings. Like that's happened many times in American history, recent American.
Okay, good. Let's take that. Okay, so a person is listening to Tucker. Tucker says something, and over a period of years, and this person takes a gun and does a mass shooting. We got 10 units of blame.
Mm-hmm.
How many units do you give Tucker, and how many units do you give the person who actually did the shooting?
3 to 7. So 7 to the person who shoots and 3 to Tucker.
Wow, I was not expecting that. I was thinking,
but that's not
good.
What I'm saying. It's like if he takes 3 units of blame per mass shooting that or it's not even just one mass shooting though, because you have to think about it. His platform's big, so it's also like there's more minor incidents that he causes because he's definitely.
But in each case, you would give the same answer, right? So let's say you have 2 mass shootings, and I ask the same question for each one. One's done by Jim, and one's done by Bob. Jim was 7 to 3. Bob 7 to 3.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I would give it 9 to 1. So the only difference between you and me is 2 units.
Mm-hmm.
I would give the vast majority responsibility, blame to the person who actually pulls the trigger, and not Tucker. He might get a little tiny amount.
See, I guess the difference would be that I know the environment influences behavior. I feel like knowingly creates an environment, like facilitates people, like pumping into people's lives these ideas, and then those ideas take hold of people. And I think he has enough power, privilege.
You're going to have to refresh. We're losing you.
That know what's doing and not care. Uh-oh.
Just refresh, and you'll come right back in. By the way, the question I just asked Autumn about units of blame is, I think, a very good one.
Okay, so can you?
Yep. Just keep talking. We'll see.
Okay. I noticed that my camera looks blurry on your side. Like when I'm filming, it doesn't. But I don't know if I'm really chopped up today. But what I was saying was, for me, the different. Where did you? Because I don't want to repeat myself.
I think you were sort of making the argument that a bunch of 3s makes Carlson Tucker worse. Tucker Carlson.
We'll just call him Tucker. Yeah. No, because he has the power and privilege to know that he is spreading disinformation, and he chooses not to care and continue his grift. That, like, for me, knowing how an environment affects behavior, he's creating an environment in many people's homes of these bad ideas that take hold of people. Yes, we have personal responsibility, but we are also agents that respond to the environment that we're in. And if he just didn't spread disinformation, then we'd have less people going down the alt-right pipeline and come to minority groups. And more than just that.
If Tucker was an African-American man, but everything else was the same, would you still answer 7-3, or would it change? How much blame do you give Tucker?
I would still answer the same way. So The only reason why it changed in the question when it's coming to violence, white men have historically acted in violence against minority groups. And I think there's a difference in that than a one-off domestic violence incident. Like systemically, I believe that there's a bigger issue there, like when it comes to causing harm. But if someone's knowingly doing a grift and spreading disinformation and they're in a position of privilege and power, because if you have that platform, you're in a position of privilege and power, then you would still have those 3 units, even if he was black.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I think if there's only 2 units of difference between me and you, that's not that bad.
No.
Yeah. So I think we're both agreed that the majority of blame and responsibility goes to the individual, right?
Yeah. But I think if we're getting to the original like dispute on Twitter, I think you seem to have a problem with my joke, which does have truth to it, right? I'm not just going to say it's all a joke, because I do admit to hating him.
Yeah, I didn't take it as a joke at all, but you told me later it was a joke.
Yeah, because people.
But you just admitted you wanted him to die, or the world would be a better place if he was dead. So I don't view it as a joke at all.
Yeah, it is the way I said it is a joke, because if you read it, I'm answering the question for you. It's a funny thing people do on Twitter constantly. They'll be like, "Who's your favorite YouTuber and why is it so and so?" It's a meme, but the premise, like, or the actual meaning behind the joke, I would say is true for me. Like I from a utilitarian standpoint, it is better if Tucker dies. Yes, I do believe that.
Do you think we have evolved to think differently, like we as Homo sapiens?
You and I?
No, the whole world. Like
that
we have people who have either different personality types or different, that we're wired differently. We have different values. Do you think that we have evolved with different values and different personality types?
I think nurture versus nurture debate, you know, that like in childhood, I think nurture far outweighs nature, which is why I would give Tucker 3 units, is because environment plays a huge role in our morality. Like it creates it in small social.
But isn't nurture itself even nature? Because if you don't believe there's any God, any spirituality.
But you asked me when I'm because I just, again, don't want to get into a trap of like semantics. I'm saying if we're saying nature is evolution impacting our biology and our DNA and our genes and how our brain is wired, and that's nature, is our environment outweighs whatever predisposition. We can have predispositions, right? Like people can have a predisposition to have anxiety or alcoholism, but environment is overall more impactful on behavior than how our DNA looks.
Yeah. The reason why I asked you this question is because I think we have evolved, humans have evolved with different value systems and different personality types, different, like these natural inclinations for a reason. And the reason is to help in our survival. In other words, I'm saying that the Tuckers of the world exist to help us survive. The psychopaths that exist, the 7% of the population or 4%, whatever it is, we have evolved to allow psychopaths to exist, to be born for a reason, to help us survive.
What reason do you think? How would that help us survive?
Oh, that's a great question. I think psychopaths have evolved to help us survive because they are probably the best ones to make low biased decisions, because they have no empathy. They are basically the closest you can get to robots on planet Earth. This is why.
So you think that Tucker Carlson is devoid of bias? Is that what I'm understanding?
No. I don't think he's a psychopath. But I think we have evolved to have a very small percentage of our population be psychopaths to help the whole 100% population survive, which I think would resonate to you as a utilitarian. And like, if you just look at the jobs that psychopaths have, they're either government, lawyers, CEOs, judges, because they basically are dead inside.
I think that you can thrive in a like capitalist society as a sure, but I don't believe that that's to the betterment of society, and I don't think evolution has intent. So just because evolution in an environment can produce a behavior, I don't think it makes it more fun. I think society overall would be better if nature never produced, nature and nurture, sociopath and psychopath. So depending on whichever it is that causes the lack of empathy and the...
But if psychopaths caused humanity to get worse, and if 7% could even cause the extinction of mankind, I think nature would have selected for it against it. But it hasn't.
No, I disagree. We have historically survived, and the reason why humans still exist is because we were able to survive in groups, and the reason why we're able to survive in groups is because of our development of empathy, and probably also domestic, which is one thing I learned recently, but that's a fun conversation for another time. But our ability to work in groups and have empathy and look out for like literal, like biological well-being of others is what caused our survival. And if everybody lacked empathy, or if more people,
I'm not making that
empathy,
argument that everybody lacked 7%.
People, okay, without people, I'll say this: without people who lack empathy, I think we would have a more a society that is thriving all the more, or like there's better words, but that's what I haven't eaten yet today, so we're gonna go with that.
If what you said is true, you would think after millions of years of evolution, that percentage of 7 would go down to 6, to 5, to 4, to 3, to 2, to 1, to 0, but it hasn't.
Well, no, because evolution doesn't have intent. So if
no, I understand that. You've already explained. We've already talked about that.
But no, I'm going in a different direction. I'm answering you. Just because you can reproduce and produce a psychopath or a sociopath doesn't mean that like it's for the betterment of society. Like we also reproduce, and like people end up having, physical issues, health issues, and that doesn't mean it's for the betterment of society that evolution allows them to continue. It means that people with those genes, like recessive genes, are able to reproduce and pass it on. It doesn't mean that it's good.
Yeah, what I'm saying is not unique. I'm not speaking on behalf of myself. Some great philosophers in the world have made the same argument I've made. It's even, I think, in the book Sapiens by Narelle, whatever his name is. Okay. But anyhow, the reason why I even brought it up is to show that there's a reason why humans think differently, value things differently, and I think we've evolved this way. And I'm encouraging everyone to appreciate those who disagree with you on the other side of the aisle. I'm kind of off the Tucker thing right now. I'm just talking in general. And what I think is dangerous is to have these knee-jerk reactions of hate because someone is in a different tribe.
But that's
and I'm not saying you're doing that.
Because that's not what I did.
But it kind of looks like
well, it can look like that to you, but I don't think you've ever watched my content or seen me engage with people, so it's like you have a very narrow view of even who I am. I think you've seen some of my tweets and decided things about me from them.
But I'm not basing it. I'm basing it on what you said here on Twitter and even here today. When I asked you the question earlier on, would you talk to a Nazi? And you said I wouldn't give them a Nazi a platform. And I'm saying,
I said I would still talk to one. Okay. I said I would still talk to one, and my opinion of Tucker is informed. It's not reactionary. Now, if I was reactionary and I just said I hate all people that have a different political view than all people on the right or all lives, that would be reactionary. But it's like I'm talking about one person about whom I'm informed. So that's a very different thing than not being able to have conversation, because I do. Like, unfortunately, most of my portfolio, if you will, has been deleted because I was on a call-in show where I talked to people weekly, but all those videos got taken down because I won't get into it. But it's like I've been on call-in shows. There's still some up from the ACA. I've been on call-in shows. I have a channel where I literally talk about these nuances and how the area where we're in agreement, I talk about on my channel, which is ideas and people.
Okay. But who's the Tucker on the left for you? Who's the equivalent of Tucker
on
on the left?
Like spreading disinformation? Good question. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Do you have an idea or an example that you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Okay,
but
maybe we're in agreement.
But I mean, this is part of the problem. I can very quickly think of people who, shall we say, I don't want to call them, because lying involves you can get inside their brain and know exactly their intent, but that they will emphasize certain things to make their side look good. And I
have an idea.
Who?
CNN. I like, not a specific person, but the news channel CNN is also, they will twist things for their narrative, and they're considered on the left, right?
Well, I think most people would say they're maybe center left, but anyhow, the point is that I just really want to encourage people to get outside their tribe, and if they can very quickly say, "Oh, I don't like Tucker because of this, this, and this," to be able to say on the other side, they'll, "Oh, and I don't like this person because of this, this, and this." And I think
you think I should criticize people on the left?
No, I'm not telling you what to do, but my point is this: that I bet you that for most of the people, even listening right now, they could very quickly, those of you who agree with your take on Tucker, for example, they could very quickly name even more names, like other than Tucker, very quickly. But they would probably all be on the right. And to me, that's a sign that it's tribalistic thinking if they can't just go bing, 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 left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right.
I don't think I'm tribalist. Like, I think that I've definitely, for example, I've definitely criticized people openly in the atheist community. If I was tribal, I would just be like, that's why I was on, just a little bit of history on me. I was on called The Line. It's like a pretty big channel. I think like 60,000 subs. I was on there weekly. The reason why my videos got taken down is because I spoke out against Jimmy Snow and Matt Dillahunty.
I actually don't know the story.
I didn't come on the channel to talk about these. Can
you just give me a little morsel, a little hint? What happened?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I've come against video evidence of Matt Dillahunty being a domestic abuser, and I hate abuse, and I will say their actions. I hate domestic men who are domestic abusers. And I spoke out about Jimmy Snow because I feel like he was taking advantage of his fans, going into like people who were.
Wait a minute, say that again. You were breaking up a bit, but you said you had video evidence of Matt being a domestic abuser?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this public?
I publicly talked on my Twitter, yeah.
No, but is the actual video evidence public?
The video evidence is not public to my knowledge. Like, many people have seen it, but
how did you get to see it?
It's not on the. I'm not answering that question. But you don't have to believe me. That's why I said we're getting into it's really not going to be productive, because I'm not going to provide the evidence. So, and people shouldn't just take people's word for things, right? But he is a domestic abuser, and I spoke out about.
That's a huge claim that requires evidence. Yes.
Right, but like if the victim doesn't want the video and doesn't want to be named, like.
Did the victim press charges?
No. But when I was in a domestic abuse situation, I didn't press charges either, and that didn't mean it didn't happen to me. Like,
yeah, I know. I agree.
Women don't always want to go through the turmoil of going to court, and that doesn't mean that they weren't abused.
And when you say domestic violence, are you talking with words or with physical action?
Physical intimidation, I would say. I never saw him hit, but if someone's trapped behind doors, trapped under a bed, and can't get out and is crying for help on video, that is physical to me. Like, that's not just verbal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Wow, well,
so,
I had no idea
anyway,
this is what it was about.
If I was tribalist, I would have just kept my comfortable spot on a bigger platform, a bigger calling 1,000 subs, and not had my videos taken down, and not taken.
Yeah,
can't, or
I get your
taking
point,
advantage.
and I appreciate that. I agree. But I kind of regret bringing this up now, and I should have listened to you not to bring it up. But I had no idea it was that. I mean, because now I'm kind of, when an accusation like that, which is a huge one, goes out, and there's no way to, for me at least, know whether or not it's true. I have to take your word for it, or whoever saw the video's word for it. And then if Matt
Right.
tells me the opposite, then who do I believe without the evidence, right?
Right.
And then I'm just stuck.
Right. I know, because that's the thing is that you don't just believe things without evidence, but if someone can't produce the evidence, it's like, what do you do? So that's why it's been awkward for sure. But I've mostly moved past it. Just, gonna do my own thing, hopefully on my own channels, but
Yeah.
I don't do them anymore.
Yeah. But just to let you know, like, for me, I lean that words are not, like, words can be violence, but I do not value words as that tagline, words is violence, as much as I think a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for example, I could say to a Christian, and this is kind of tied into Matt Dillahunty, I can say to a Christian, Christianity is false.
Mm-hmm.
And for this and this reason. And I can be articulate and even use rhetoric and be funny, and it can have an impact which causes severe pain and turmoil to a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And this has actually happened in life. Now, are my words violence? And this is why I really err strongly on the side that words are not violence, because it's words that helps the exchange of ideas, which helps our, as a utilitarian, you should appreciate this, thrive and get better in society.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's a video of Matt Dillahunty basically yelling at his wife, to me, that's a lot different than hitting.
Right. So it was physical intimidation, and I have no knowledge if it was actual hitting. I didn't see any video evidence of that. And I'm also not referencing his wife, like, just so you know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want people to make assumptions that I'm talking about someone in particular.
I didn't know either, so I guess assumed. But okay. Well, I'm glad we had this talk.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. You're breaking up a little bit as we're going, so it's a little cumbersome to keep going.
Okay.
But anyhow, thanks for coming on.
All right. Bye.
Whew. I honestly had no idea that it was going there. And I do regret bringing it up now. I should have listened to Autumn, and she didn't want to really talk about it. And I asked for a morsel, but a morsel was too much. I asked for a little crumb, but a crumb was too much. Oh. I need to decompress here a little bit from that. I'll read the live stream chat. I see you, AA Ron, but let's take a little break. If you're too scared to come on here and want to ask me a question on the live stream chat, I'm focusing on that now. So tag me if you have a question or a comment. Ugh, ugh, ugh. Yeah, I can't put that genie back in the bottle. You're right, Clean Sweep. Yeah, I see a run in the wings, but I need a break here a little bit. Because it's sort of like, I got a fire-breathing dragon in my garage, but I can't show you. I mean, ugh. But I want to see the fire-breathing dragon. When are words equal to violence? I think like the typical cases of yelling fire in a crowded theater. and it causes a stampede that kills people. JLay677. PineCreek, when does your scandal come out? Yeah, the scandal of PineCreek. I never leave the house, and I tend to be a pacifist in my actions, so I'm pretty boring. What would be a scandal with me? PineCreek hates cheesecake. You want to play poker with me sometime, Perpetual Motion? Email me. Go to my YouTube channel, About tab. My email's there. I'll put you on the list. What is your opinion on Trump T-Jump's idea of the Atheist Church? T-Jump's idea? Atheist Church? I'm not sure what his idea is. Is it basically that it should exist? Yeah, you can try, but unless you have something crazy that people can coalesce around, it's not going to last. This is why religion lasts, because people believe in crazy things and they, oh, you believe in that crazy thing too? Yeah, let's stick together. Do you think an omniscient God is incompatible with free will? Yes. Act C. And I don't care what philosophers say. An omniscient God is incompatible with free will. Libertarian free will. Libertarian free will. If you don't know what that means, then relax. Time is an issue. What is time? Sebastian, would you say Sagan's dragon can be called falsified since there's no evidence for it? No, it can't be falsified. Oh, Ray Cosby asked a great question. If a community has a lot of people thinking bigoted thoughts but doesn't act on them, later a crime occurs, wouldn't the bigoted thoughts increase the chance of violence based on bigotry? Yes. Isn't that simple? That's how you answer a question. But Ray, here's an uncomfortable question. Oh, this question is really uncomfortable. I should have asked Autumn this question. Would you rather live in a gated community full of KKK members? So everybody's KKK. And you're black. But there is no history of any sorts of violence, crime in that community. Okay? So you're a black person. Do you want to live, would you rather live in a KKK gated community, or would you rather live in a the worst ghetto type community in either Michigan or Detroit, New York, where there's a huge history of black on black crime? Isn't that a great question? To me, that's a fantastic question because it illustrates the difference between thought crime and actual crime. And then I'll ask the same question to you people with skin color the same as mine. White people. You white people, would you rather live in a community of KKK people where the crime rate is almost zero? Or would you rather live in a ghetto type place where the crime rate is high? Oh, that's a fantastic question. That gets to the difference between thoughts and actions. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, but Doug, those KKK people, oh, they're always killing. Let's see. Okay, let's keep it short and sweet. Hey, Ron.
So, did you finish asking that question?
Yeah. You want to answer it?
I think that's a really interesting one.
Would you personally? It's just you. Okay. Would you rather live in? That
question sucks. By the way, I'm sorry. It sucks. But are they the kind of clan group that acts like they're cool with black people because there's cameras around? Because that seems to be whenever I've seen a documentary.
No, it's a typical neighborhood. It's a typical neighborhood, no cameras around, but basically it's a community of KKKs who honestly believe that black people are inferior to white people.
That sucks.
And
I wouldn't want to live around that.
Okay, but
So,
your
like,
choices
would I-
are living there with them, or living in the ghetto, where you're the only white person, or with very few, and
yeah, or get robbed a couple times,
or drive-by
a
shootings.
year. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I
To me,
guess
it's a no-brainer. You live with the KKK.
No, look, but see, you don't
Someone
leave your
clip that.
house. No, but you don't leave your house, so you wouldn't talk to him anyways.
Oh, I would. I would. I take my German Shepherd for a walk because my German Shepherd's name Adolf. They would love him. I say, hey, look, hey KKK neighbor, this is my dog. Oh, beautiful dog.
Me of,
it's
Always
named
Sunny in
Adolf.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. And then I would say,
episode?
yeah, exactly. And then I would talk to them about. So you think the black people are inferior, right? Oh yeah. Well, why? And then we have a great conversation at the park.
So you can relate to them. Oh, well, my dog's a racist. You'll have a lot in common with him.
See, I think people on the left hate that question more than people on the right, because people on the left want to really have this attitude that they're almost like Christians with the thought crime thing. With, if you just think about a woman lustfully, you've committed adultery in your heart. If you just think that people are inferior to you, you've committed murder in your heart. I really do think that type of thinking is more prevalent on the left than on the right.
I think I don't know. I would consider myself on the left.
I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, I would consider myself on the left, but and I do appreciate the questions that you ask. I appreciate questions like around tribalism, because I've recognized tribalism in myself this past week on some. It was actually related to the Rittenhouse case. Some stuff that I was watching, and then I internally I noticed opinions that I was forming, and then I watched what was it? Legal Eagle is a YouTube channel where he's a lawyer that breaks down court cases and talks about different aspects of law, and I thought, you know what, I was being a little tribalistic in my interpretation about. I still think that whole thing sucks. I think our laws are crazy about when it comes to guns and.
Wait a minute, are you just admitting that you changed your mind on it? Like,
no, I still think. Well, the thing that I would say maybe I'm more open to is maybe the criticisms of the judge. I was a little. I found myself anxious or eager to be critical of the judge. You see crotchety old white guy, which you and I are. I mean, you're a little further ahead than me, but we're both going to be.
I'm a little more crotchety than you are.
We're on that path, and if I keep listening to you, I've got no choice. But I would say just kind of the way that I viewed some of the players in that.
Like, to this day, do you think Kyle Rittenhouse was guilty or innocent? Your personal opinion. And given that you don't know all the evidence and stuff, just what?
Yeah, and that I don't know all the law, and I don't know how.
But if you were a betting man,
unfortunately, I think he is not guilty.
Okay.
Because the way that our laws are, I don't think that he broke enough laws in order to really face any real consequences. My understanding, and again, I'm willing to say that I'm not an expert at all on any of this. My understanding is he stole a gun and then drove out of town to go.
Who told you they stole a gun?
Was it like stole a gun from his uncle or something like that?
No.
I believe everything I hear, Doug. So I don't know.
No, he never stole a gun.
Well, look, I think he was acting as a vigilante. But
is holding a gun in itself acting as a vigilante? Like, in what cases do you?
Yeah, and this is so debatable. I really hate talking about this with somebody who actually thinks that the Second Amendment, the way that it's interpreted these days, is a great thing. I think that if the whole point of the Second Amendment is to create a militia, just in case your government falls apart, we've been outgunned for so long because the military-industrial complex is so large. You're not going to withstand them. Although there are some folks I'm here in Texas, and Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, there's people that are trying to give the government a run for their money as far as withholding a piece
Can
of
you
property
relate
if
to
they
me at
came
all?
it.
Can you relate to me at all when I said I actually feel comfortable around people with guns?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I because I grew up. I mean, I've been to the gun range a bunch of times.
Yeah. So if I was there, that
shotguns and
like if I was on the street walking and then Kyle Rittenhouse came on the corner with a AK-47 on his chest
during a protest, I think during a protest it is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
To bring a
Right.
firearm.
That's why I asked that question.
Open carry. This is why I think our gun laws are stupid, because we have gun laws that are focused around creating violent incidences.
Yeah.
We create
okay.
opportunity for it.
I do think that it was stupid for Kyle Rittenhouse to have gone there that night, but it's not illegal.
No,
it's
not.
And I especially think that it's stupid to chase a teenager with a gun like that and hurl threats at them or even say anything negative. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to chase.
This was evolution on display. Stupid people die. Those two people were stupid and they're dead now.
I don't know how much time we have to chat because I know you've been going a long time, but I want to say that I probably agree with Autumn on a lot of things, but I'm glad she's not in charge of the planet. Why
do you say that?
I kind of consider myself as a utilitarian sometimes, but gosh, the degree to which that conversation was handing out death. I mean, you were just slinging like, who would you kill?
Yeah.
I was like, golly. I do think I do think that there should be. I think there should be a line drawn between when you're talking about, I don't know the word for it, but someone who's a pedophile and someone who acts on pedophilia.
Yep.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with being a pedophile.
Right.
It's the actions that you take on it that is wrong.
Yeah.
And it's because of how it infringes on autonomy. And
I say the same thing about Democrats. Like, it's not wrong to be a Democrat. I just don't want people to act upon it.
I like how you make these category errors just like so slight.
Oh, it's funny. Come on, that was funny.
That was pretty good. Okay, so I had something that I wanted to bring up, since this is just basically also a rambling ask Doug anything thing. I don't know if you're taking random questions now too.
Yeah, go ahead. You waited a long time, but I do want to get to a couple other callers.
Well, there's two things. One, the best take on Tucker Carlson I ever heard was John Oliver. He called him an anthropomorphic boat shoe, and I think that is I think that's a fantastic way to describe him.
Huh. I don't know what that means, but anyhow.
Man, I have to tie it back to Seinfeld for you to get it.
Boat shoe? I know. I'm quite familiar with Seinfeld. Just give me a hint. Boat shoe? Is that what you said?
A boat shoe. Do you know the kind of person that would wear a boat shoe?
Oh,
loafers without the socks, probably.
Like a liberal?
Maybe. Okay, so this is something I've been thinking about for you actually mentioned this earlier, which is, I wonder, do you think that religion is stronger in people who lack natural empathy? Like, the less empathetic the person, the more religiously grounded they are?
No.
So it seems like the function of religion, and I grew up Church of Christ. I deconverted just a couple of years ago. We've talked about this before, but You don't remember things.
It's because I'm getting old and cantankerous.
So
I remember you, Ron.
Yeah. I think this is why people get lost on good versus, like, what's good versus evil. God is definitionally good, and therefore anything that is God is good. Whereas I now define good as a matter of whether or not something achieves values and goals that I have. And because I've thought about the things that I value and the goals that I have, I can call something good that you might disagree with. You could call it evil. That's just because we have different values.
Right.
But it seems like religion needs. Whereas I think you and I would look at some issues like, hey, why would you act this certain way? Because you lack. We have human empathy that allows us to be. I don't know. I'm rambling now.
Yeah, I think Christianity exists because it was a way to attempt to change the power dynamic between the powerful Romans and the little insignificant Jews. And so you have this priesthood figure, which is actually very closely aligned with the powerful Romans, who is convincing the people that there is this justice at the end of the age and in the other world. And so not to worry now, and your suffering's not in vain. And so it's just a shifting of how you view power and suffering,
or a way to get control over your circumstances you can't control.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I would like to hear you talk more about this, and maybe, and I don't know where you would want to take this, if you would at all, but something that I've been feeling for a while as I listen to historians that you've talked to in the past, whenever it's a topic of did Jesus exist or not, like Richard Carrier stuff, do you think that historians are willing to call something historical fact in a much more charitable way than a scientist in a lab is able to establish something as a scientific fact?
When talking about Jesus' existence?
Or anything that happened in history. I mean, just any. No, it seems like if any two people can mention an event, it's counted as like, well, we know what happened historically. Like, you need to cite your sources because you got two.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think historians quibble about a lot of stuff that scientists quibble about, but I do think with Jesus's existence, there's extreme pressure to say, well, it's 100% Jesus existed. But if historians are doing their job properly, even Bart Ehrman has to concede, 99%. There's still a chance. Because it's about probability distributions, not a binary switch on and off, true or false. And so I do think historians give a little bit too much benefit of the doubt that Jesus existed. But I think the whole mythicist thing about Jesus existing is totally irrelevant. It's only relevant for Christians. But to all the non-Christian, and maybe Muslims to a lower extent, but it's irrelevant to non-Christians. Like, who cares if Jesus exists or not? It's the same with Socrates. Who cares if Socrates existed or not? It's the ideas that are attributed to this figure that are important. But anyhow, I got to let you go. I got Terry and another Catholic waiting.
Later, Doug.
Yeah. Thank you for the donation, James R. Would you be comfortable with your dog saying "Good boy, Adolf" amongst the new Black Panthers and their guns? I don't know. I don't think a Black Panther would shoot me dead if I showed them my German Shepherd dog and said, "Hey, his name's Adolf." I think they'd laugh. Terry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I know who you are. You're a troublemaker.
Well, I wanted to share my hope, meaning, and purpose.
You want to share your hope, meaning, and purpose with me?
Yeah, it's poker.
Oh, poker. That gives you hope, meaning, and purpose?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. That pretty much does it for me. I'm pretty simple.
Okay. Are you encouraging others to also endeavor with poker to get hope, meaning, and purpose?
Yes, if they don't know how to play poker and they have money.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very good advice. So you've all heard it here. If you don't know how to play poker, but you have money, take Terry's advice. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, and for 3 hours. And it's video, like you can see and hear each other. And what's the best thing about poker for you, Terry? I'm asking for your personal testimony.
Actually, I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy the company, the conversation, and I really like winning money.
Yeah, I like talking about religion and politics, but it's even more sweet is winning some coin for the family. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I'm probably behind, but that's still okay. The camaraderie just kind of makes up for it. So, real quick, thanks for your conversation with Autumn.
Okay.
Before you wanted more info, I was yelling, "No, Doug, you don't want that."
Oh, yeah.
So, but I really enjoyed the conversation that you had with her.
You know what's weird is I remember seeing something about it on Twitter, like fighting.
Yeah.
But I usually ignore it, and I ignored it that time. And then, but it stuck in my head that there was some type of conflict between Autumn and Matt.
Yeah.
And then, so I just couldn't help myself but ask about it, but now I regret it.
Yeah, Autumn kind of reminds me of me like 20 years ago, and you remind me of my dad. So having that conversation with my dad is what you and Autumn had. So we all come a long way, in our own time. And I appreciate what you do in your content. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I should meet your dad. He sounds like a very handsome and very intelligent person.
Well, he is. He was. And when you die, you can meet him
in poker heaven.
Probably in hell. I think he was okay with hell.
Okay.
He was okay with that. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for hopping on, Terry, and doing some advertising for me.
All right. Cool. Later.
See ya.
Yep.
Guess who wants on next? Canadian Catholic. I should start a poll. I blocked him, but he's back. I know I gotta let the Roman Catholics in because I gave him a hard time.
Yeah, so I had to.
Hey, you're on.
Hi, Father Douglas. How are you?
Good. Are you mad at me?
I'm not. I'm not.
Okay, good. Do you wish I'd fall downstairs and die?
No. I have two questions for you.
Is it about what I talked about? Did you hear what I said about Roman Catholicism?
No, not really. I recently tuned in.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Was it negative or positive?
Well, I basically summarized the difference between Catholics and Protestants.
Which Protestants?
Some Mike Winger's brand.
Oh, Mike Winger's brand is a DIY religion.
DUI?
DIY. It's a do-it-yourself religion.
And basically the difference is their view on sanctification, justification, and grace. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, there is serious Protestant sects like Lutheranism, Anglicanism, or even Presbyterianism, but that kind of DIY house churches are... Anyway, I'm not here to bash other people. I was just joking. So I've got a couple of questions. Well, first of all, you've got me muted on your text channel, and I don't like that.
Muted on your... Oh, on the comments? Yeah, that's because you were advertising on my channel.
Well, that was a long time ago. Why don't you unban me, Father Douglas?
No, there's at least a 3 months penance, sins. I don't think you're at 3 months yet.
No, we did 3 months.
I'll go look at it back in the records and make a decision. Anyhow, what do you want to ask me?
Yeah, so, you're freezing for me, so I hope I'm not freezing.
No, you're not freezing.
Okay, so good. So you cite secular, quote, biblical scholars, and, often, and,
no,
that's
rarely.
your right, but... Sorry?
Rarely.
No, often. You do that all the time. No, you don't do that all the time. You don't do that rarely. But more importantly, what do you think about the fact that they seem to admit that they're presuppositionalists? Does that bother you?
Nope.
No, it doesn't. So you think it's correct methodology to presuppose that the Bible is not inspired and then come to the conclusion that it's likely not? You think that's a correct methodology?
That's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, I didn't...
Does that bother you?
No.
Because I mean, I've got quotes from people like Kip Davis and others that say, and even Bart Ehrman sometimes, who I respect, saying that yeah, this is our presupposition. Starting point is that God, for all intents and purposes, does not exist, didn't inspire anything. And then, I mean, that's their right, but how can you cite their conclusions reliably if that's the methodology?
Well, I think everybody has to have a default position, right?
No, I mean, sure, you can have a default position, but then if your default position is what's at contention, then you can't use that as your conclusion.
Right.
So
I
if
agree
you
with
start
that.
out like, okay, good. So then, what's the point of citing those scholars about, for example, Moses not existing, if their presupposition already is that there's nothing special about
Well,
Moses?
I can quote theologians that presuppose that God exists too, who are Calvinists, can't I?
Oh, sure,
Okay,
yeah.
that's all I'm doing.
No, you rely on secular scholars.
And I can also rely on things that Calvinist
I'm fine
theologians
with
say.
that. Do you have a problem? Do you have a problem with
No.
that presupposition? Oh, you don't. You don't have a problem with somebody starting out and saying, "Well, Moses is just another figure."
Anybody can say
There's
whatever they
nothing
want.
inspired about Moses. Okay, good. But then you can't use that because that would be circular. You can't use that to come to the conclusion that
Right, you have to look at the evidence at that point. But you can.
you're not doing any kind of evidence.
So you can have a default
are
position.
relying on other people.
You can have.
So when you believe that Moses did not exist, you didn't do any kind of a research. You're relying on other people.
Yeah, I rely on the experts in there. Yeah.
And those experts, the ones you call experts, are those who use presuppositionalist methods that you disagree with.
I don't know
Why
about
would you
that.
say-
So maybe some do, some don't.
Well, most of them do.
How do you know?
I have quotes. I have quotes. I have.
Have you taken a survey?
I mean,
When you use the word most, that implies a survey, that you have a denominator and a numerator.
no,
And-
I have not done a survey.
Okay, how do you know
I
it's
simply
most
looked at
then?
it because they seem to use the same methodology.
No, how do you know most of these Old Testament scholars are presuppositionists and coming from the point of view that there can't be a God or there is no God until proven otherwise? How do you know that?
I don't know about God. I'm saying that they were presupposing that the Bible is a natural book written by normal human beings
Okay, but how do you know that represents most of the scholars?
because that's the methodology they use. They use the
What?
same methodology. Yeah, they use the same methodology.
How many Old Testament scholars are there?
I don't know. I haven't counted. I'm talking about Western.
Okay, if you don't know and if you haven't counted, how do you know that most are doing what you think?
Because they follow the same methodology that is used in those studies.
But how do you know that?
By knowing the history of the methodology.
But no, in order to know that, you would need to
history
know the specific methodology of each Old Testament historian.
Yeah, it's called critical scholarship, higher criticism, which presupposes that the Bible is a book like any other book. That's actually from Harvard Divinity School. That says that our presupposition.
Yeah, but couldn't someone? Okay, I understand.
That's the presupposition. That's the methodology. That's not just one person.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but the thing is, couldn't someone have that presupposition and still say that the Bible is inspired after looking at the evidence?
That would be inconsistent. Well, they could come to that, but if you're applying that methodology, that would be inconsistent. Because if you start out, and I've told you, I have a quote by a person called Kip Davis. I don't know. I've seen him around. I don't know about it. From what I understand, you guys are familiar with each other. And he basically admits this. Our starting point is naturalism. That's our method. Naturalism precludes God. Our starting point is that this is a human book. That's where we start from.
Okay.
Any conclusion is based on the idea that there is no God and this book isn't inspired, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But when you use that to conclude that it's not inspired, you're engaging in a circular argumentation.
Okay. And you're saying
And
that's bad.
No, I'm asking, do you have a problem with that kind of method? Because you wouldn't accept if I accepted that.
No.
Okay, well, that's your problem because you don't seem to want to reason soundly about the Bible.
Why is that my problem if I don't have a problem with it?
Because, I mean, the way you present your material becomes incorrect. Because the things you say about the Bible are relying on this flawed method, at least when it comes to... It might not be flawed about everything, but it is flawed when ascertaining the divine truth.
So it's a flawed method to presuppose that the Bible is...
Not inspired, yes. If a question is whether it's inspired or not.
Is it a flawed method to presuppose the Bible is inspired?
Depends on what we're trying to do. It's a flawed method to presuppose if we are trying to prove it's inspired. Now, of course, I presuppose that it's inspired.
Is it a flawed method to presuppose the Bible's inspired?
Depends on the context.
Is it a flawed method to presuppose the Bible's not inspired?
Depends on the context. If the context is... Okay, but you use the incorrect context because you
what did
want
I do?
To show for... I mean, you cite biblical scholars all the time to further
Is it wrong
your
of me
agenda.
to cite biblical scholars?
No, it's not wrong of you to cite.
Okay, then what have I done wrong?
You use an incorrect methodology to establish conclusions, which fail because of the incorrect methodology.
All I've done is cite. You're saying I've done something wrong by citing scholars who've done
Yes.
something wrong.
No, I'm saying that you are trying to undermine biblical truth by citing scholars that presuppose that
How
the
do
Bible
you know it's
isn't
biblical
true.
truth?
What do you mean? How do I know what biblical truth?
How do you know
is?
that the Bible is biblical truth? How do you know it's true?
It's by definition. Biblical truth is truth that derives from the Bible.
No, but is it true what the Bible says?
Yeah, of course.
How do you know that?
I mean, I'm a Catholic. I have to believe that. That's not an option
Okay.
for us.
I know the Bible's true because I'm a Catholic.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the Bible is true because of revelation, but I'm saying I have to believe that, hold that because I'm a Roman Catholic. Roman Catholics can't switch up. we can't say.
How do you know
no,
revelation actually happened?
Through my senses?
No, the biblical revelation.
Yeah, through my senses.
So you were there with Joseph and you saw him
No, I
have
wasn't
this
there with
dream about
Joseph.
going to Egypt?
No. I through my senses, I can know that the Bible is inspired.
How?
What do you mean? The Holy
Which
Spirit
sense?
guides-
We got 5 senses: eyes, see, hear, smell, touch. Which one do you use to know the Bible is the inspired word of God?
all of them to.
You can
come to rational
smell that the
conclusion.
Bible is inspired by God?
No, I can't smell that the Bible is the inspired word of God. I'm saying I use all the
You can
senses.
touch that the Bible is the inspired word of God?
Not listening. It's not the senses tell me. Through the senses, I gather the data into my intellect, and by the intellect, I can discern that the Bible is the word of God.
Okay. And so you did that with the presupposition that it is or is not inspired before you took in the data with your senses?
Well, I mean, I started believing after I was an atheist, so I don't know. Well,
You don't know? Okay, so that means you didn't believe it was inspired, and then you used
But
your
no, not
senses
all.
to figure out it was inspired. Is that right?
yes. Yeah. To come back to the belief, yeah.
Okay, so what convinced you that it was inspired by God?
Okay, we're not. Why are we going again on this? I mean, you're turning the tables on me. I was here to question you.
Don't you dare question my beliefs. I'm here to question yours.
No, but like
I
I'm
answered
saying,
your
does
question.
that- Yeah, no, I get that, and I'm gonna be going, but I just want to tell your viewers and you, I disagree with your methodology because it's fundamentally flawed. Abraham most definitely existed, and Moses most definitely existed.
No, but
And
hold it. Those new Old Testament and New Testament historians are doing what you did. So if you're calling them flawed, then you're flawed because you said you were an atheist. You didn't believe that God inspired, and then used your 5 senses to use your intelligence to come to the conclusion it is inspired. And so they're doing the same thing you did. They're just coming up with a different conclusion. So if you're calling these historians flawed, then you got to look in the mirror, buddy. Have a good day.
all right.
Can I get an amen? Hugh Jazz. Are you there, Hugh Jazz? Abraham most definitely did not exist. Even educated Christians and Jews agree on that. To me, it doesn't. Who cares? Maybe there was a guy long ago named Abraham. Doesn't make a dent. Hugh Jazz is not in the building. Okay, that was the last caller. We'll leave it with my shellacking of Canadian Catholic. Oh, why is this still? Is that still too loud? Do you want an amen or a amen? I want an amen. Is my mic not working? Check 1 2. My mic's working. Interview yourself, Doug. Hey, that's not a bad idea. Would that be possible? No, hang on. How did I do that? Oh, never mind. Too late. I closed that tab. Yeah, PineCreek pities no fool.
Shut up, fool!
Thanks for the Saturday entertainment, Doug. Have a good weekend. May the coitus be good tonight. I should tell my wife you said that. Inspire her. Something to shoot for. Yeah, what is with Trent Horn's hairstyle? Like, does Trent Horn go to the barber and say, give me the Jimmy Neutron? Thanks for the donation, Killian Garincha. Which apologist makes you lose the least brain cells? Ugh, those are hard questions. I don't know if he even calls himself an apologist, but I guess it would be... oh, what's his name? The Mennonite guy. Oh, I forget his name. But he's more like a Randall Rouser, fake Christian type. How many dollars to blog Canadian Catholic again? No, I'm done taking calls. That's been 3 hours. But yeah, that's a Jimmy Neutron haircut. It's like the back of a duck's butt. Oh, hang on. My apologies to Trent Horn, Mike Winger, everybody else that was scheduled to come on. We ran out of time.